Chapter 4792. Two foxes. The Lan family's ancestor looked at Lan Deshun indifferently. He did not comment, and continued to watch the competition on the stage. Lan Deshun ate a soft nail, and glared at Yin Chujio fiercely. He was secretly resentful. Did the ancestor become muddle-headed due to his old age? Otherwise, why would he favor this stinky girl so much? However, it did not matter. In the end, Luo Mu would take care of this stinky girl. The Lan family's ancestor didn't have a definite conclusion regarding the dispute between Yin Chujio and Lan Deshun. He felt that what he said made sense. However, this had to be determined by the person. If the natal spiritual beast didn't have any room for improvement, it naturally had to transform into a supporting spiritual beast. Correspondingly, if the natal spiritual beast had greater potential, then it had to focus on improving the combat strength of the natal spiritual beast. However, for a little girl like Yin Chujio to think of this, it was not bad. However, according to the news, wasn't her natal spiritual beast a pig? How did it become Goei Batsao? Or was this little girl hiding her strength? And in fact, this Goei Batsao was just a supplementary spiritual beast? The more the old ancestor thought about it, the more he felt that his guess was right. This little girl was full of bad ideas, so she must be hiding her strength. He reckoned that when she went up on stage later, she would use her true natal spiritual beast. However, according to her character, she would probably just give up perfunctorily. He had to think of a way to make her give it her all. Thinking of this, he turned his head to look at Yin Chujio. His nose was almost crooked from anger. He saw that little girl sitting on the small pony. Her head was actually falling asleep bit by bit. How big was her heart? For cultivators, it wouldn't be a problem even if they didn't sleep for 3 to 5 days, let alone one night. This little girl was too lazy. At this moment, Hei Shinjio lost her balance and fell to the ground. She curled up into a ball and continued sleeping. The old ancestor was speechless and simply ignored her. Seeing that there was no movement, Hei Shinjio took out a blanket from her storage ring and wrapped herself up like a dumpling and continued to sleep. Before she fell asleep, a thought flashed through her mind. Why was she always sleepy recently? What the hell? The Lan family members looked at Hei Shinjio, who was like a cocoon beside the old ancestor. Their hearts felt like they were crying dogs. This was a family competition. Hei Shinjio slept until the next morning, and the competition on the stage was still ongoing. This fellow stretched his back and leaned in front of their ancestor, saying, "Ancestor, you must have not eaten breakfast yet, right? Housekeeper Sue, quickly get someone to send breakfast to our ancestor. You are too blind." Housekeeper Sue was so angry that he almost vomited blood. "Send breakfast to the old ancestor? I'm afraid it's because you want to eat it." The old ancestor would abstain from grains most of the time, and basically had no need for appetite. How could he eat breakfast? Seeing that housekeeper Sue did not move, Hei Shinjio curled her lips, and took out a plate of meat buns from her storage ring, and handed it to the old ancestor. "Old ancestor, do you eat buns? The thin skin and filling are mostly meat. They are delicious. You eat them yourself," the old ancestor said lightly. Yin Chujio thought, "Forget it if you don't want to eat them." Therefore, this guy was eating meat buns while watching the competition on the stage. The reason why this guy was acting like this was to test the true intention of the Lan family's old ancestor. Unfortunately, he didn't get anything. He cursed in his heart. He is indeed an old fox. He is really difficult to deal with. The old ancestor used the corner of his eye to glance at Yin Chujio, whose eyeballs were rolling around. He found it funny in his heart. A little girl still wanted to play tricks on him? He really overestimated himself. Chapter 4793. If you win first place, the crowd could not see through the fight between the two foxes. They thought that the ancestor of the Lan family favored Yin Chujio, and his face was full of envy and hatred. Lan Dimeo's mood was a bit complicated. On the one hand, he was very happy. After all, Yin Chujio was from the third branch. She was favored, and the third branch also followed suit. On the other hand, he suspected that his true purpose had been discovered by the ancestor. He was a little nervous. Would he be punished if he did not report such a big matter to the ancestor? As time passed, The spiritual power of the people on the stage became higher and higher. Those people from before were just stepping stones. Lan Luocheng, Lan Luomu, and Lan Luohan were the strongest candidates from the three sides. They had not gone on the stage yet. The three of them had their own plans in mind. The first and second person to step onto the stage would have to fight each other, and then the third person would reap the benefits. So no one was willing to step onto the stage first. At this time, the outcome of the competition on the stage had also been decided, and Lan Luoji from the second branch had won. Seeing this, Lan Luoji was secretly happy in his heart. Lan Luomu was also from the second branch, so he naturally wouldn't challenge him. This way he would have the upper hand. However, he did not expect that when Lan Luoji challenged Lan Luocheng and Lan Luohan on the stage, neither of them accepted the challenge. As for He Xinjiu, she was not in the consideration at all, because this guy would not go on the stage unless it was absolutely necessary. The situation was in a deadlock for a moment. Elder Ning had no choice but to say, "How about this? Lan Luocheng, Lan Luohan, and Yin Chujiu. The three of you draw lots to decide who will go up and accept the challenge." Yin Chujiu knew that she could not avoid it, but she felt that her luck had always been good, and she would definitely not be chosen. In the end, this guy saw the fight on the note. This guy was immediately confused. On the stage, Lan Luoji was in a good mood. The more he won, the more points his family had. Yin Chujiu was here to give him points. He Xinjiu thought about it, and decided to just admit defeat. After all, face was not worth anything. Just as he was thinking, housekeeper Su ran over and said in a low voice, "Miss Cousin, the old ancestor said that if you can get first place in this family competition, he will take you to the Zen sect as a guest." Yin Chujiu was shocked when she heard that. She turned her head to look at the old ancestor of the Lan family. The old ancestor revealed a meaningful smile, which made it hard to guess what he was thinking. However, this condition was too tempting for He Xinjiu. Although she might not be able to meet her parents and rescue them, it was still good to get some information. Therefore, he gritted his teeth and went all out. He Xinjiu jumped onto the stage and said to Lan Luoji, "Let's talk business. As long as you are willing to admit defeat, I will give you spiritual stones." Everyone. The old ancestor almost choked on his tea. Even in his wildest dreams, he did not expect such a bizarre scene to appear on the Lan family stage, and he even brought business with him. Lan Luoji was stunned at first, then he sneered again and again. "Yin Chujiu, stop dreaming. I'm fighting for honor. I don't care about any spirit stones at all." 100,000. Yin Chujiu stretched out a finger. "I advise you to give up on this idea. I want compromise." 200,000. Yin Chujiu stretched out two fingers. "It's useless for you to say all this. Wealth and honor cannot be lewd. I will not yield." 500,000. Yin Chujiu stretched out five fingers. "Deal, everyone." Chapter 4794. It was even harder to be a good person. Everyone could not believe their ears. What happened to fighting for honor? What happened to not being promiscuous? Was he defeated by money just like that? The Lan family's old ancestor had mixed feelings. He wanted to force that little girl to reveal her true abilities, but he did not want her to go up and use money to smash people. This little girl was really difficult to explain in one word. Although Lan Luozi's face was a little embarrassed, he felt that his decision was right. He was the bastard son of the second wife, so he did not have much money on hand. If he could take the opportunity to earn some money, it would naturally be good, because sometimes cultivation was all about money. Moreover, even if he won against Yin Chujiu, he would only gain a little more points. Whether it was against Lan Luocheng or Lan Luohan, he would lose. Moreover, they were ruthless and merciless. If he was injured, the loss would not be worth it. Yin Chujiu nodded with satisfaction. "Brother Luoji is really thorough. If you tell Elder Ning that you admit defeat now, I will immediately transfer the spirit stones to you." Lan Luoji felt that if he stood on the stage for a while longer, he would lose face. Thus he hurriedly said to Elder Ning, "For this round I admit defeat." Elder Ning was also dumbfounded. However, since Lan Luoji had already admitted defeat, he naturally could not say anything more. He announced, third branch Yin Chujio wins. Only then did Yin Chujio transfer the spirit stones to Lan Luoji with a smile. Lan Luoji used his divine sense to scan the storage ring, and then frowned. Yin Chujio, didn't we agree on 500,000 high-grade spirit stones? Why did you only transfer 50 to me? Yin Chujio had an innocent look on her face. That's right, I told you 500,000 low-grade spirit stones. Isn't that equivalent to 50 high-grade spirit stones? Lan Luoji. Only then did he remember that when Yin Chujio called out the price, she said 500,000 spirit stones, but didn't say what kind of spirit stones it was. This wretched girl was too despicable. Too wicked. You are cheating. Lan Luoji almost died from anger. It was already embarrassing enough for him to admit defeat for the spirit stones. And this Yin Chujio even tricked him. Wouldn't he become the laughingstock of everyone in the future? Brother Luoji, it's not right for you to say that. I've always been a person of integrity. When I do business, I'm always honest and honest. I didn't force you to do this business with me. You misunderstood it, so why are you blaming me? Yin Chujio crossed her arms and said casually while tiptoeing. Lan Luoji wanted to strangle this guy in front of him to death. This time, he was really embarrassed and at a disadvantage. He was so aggrieved. Yin Chujio, you wait. We'll see. Lan Luoji said angrily and jumped off the stage. Yin Chujio shrugged her shoulders and sighed. It's really hard to be a good person. It's even harder to be a good person. Everyone's noses almost went crooked from anger. A person like you is still a good person? You're too shameless. Since Yin Chujio won without a fight, the next question was whether Lan Luocheng, or Lan Lumu, would go up on stage to compete. Elder Ning was about to let the two of them draw lots when the old ancestor suddenly said, "Since there are only 4 people left, let's compete in 2s and 2s. The winner will be decided in the end." Elder Ning naturally had no objections, and immediately let the 4 of them draw lots. In the end, Yin Chujio's opponent was Lan Luocheng, while Lan Luomu and Lan Luohan drew a group. The two sides drew the order again, and Lan Luma's group would compete first. Chapter 4795. Proud soldiers are bound to lose. Yin Chujio cursed in her heart. Her luck today was really not that good. She must have won first, so that she could rest for a while after she won. This guy didn't even think about it. She might not be able to win against Lan Luocheng. Alright, this guy had this kind of mysterious confidence. Yin Chujio jumped to the front of the old ancestor, and said with a smile, "Old ancestor, my performance just now was not bad, right?" The corner of the old ancestor's mouth twitched. Not bad. It was not bad. One move was useless, and he won with 50 spirit stones. At this time, Lan Luomu and Lan Luohan had already stepped onto the competition stage. Lan Luohan said arrogantly, "Lan Luomu, I heard that not only did you lose to Lan Luocheng, but you also lost to Yin Chujio? You are really useless." Lan Luohan said with a fake smile, "Lan Luomu, you don't have to say such harsh words. I was just careless last time. On the other hand, you always think that you are so great, but in fact, you are nothing." Lan Luohan was immediately enraged, and gave Lan Luomu a palm strike. Lan Luomu dodged to the side, and the two of them fought. At the beginning, the two of them only competed in movement techniques. Later on, they both released their natal spirit beasts and auxiliary spirit beasts. For a moment, the competition stage was glittering, and it was much more exciting than the previous competition. The ancestor took a look at Hei Shinjio, who was eating and drinking again, and asked, "Who do you think will win?" Yin Chujio said with a smile, "A proud soldier will definitely lose." The old ancestor smiled bitterly and didn't say anything. The reason why he valued Lan Luocheng more was also because the Lan family's generation didn't live up to expectations. Although their talent wasn't bad, their temperament was really difficult to take on a big responsibility. Therefore, he kept Yin Chujio for another reason, which was to use her to polish these people, so that they would know their own strength. Last time, Lan Luomu had suffered a loss at the hands of Yin Chujio. It was obvious that he had improved. On the other hand, Lan Luohan was extremely arrogant. Naturally, she would be defeated. Sure enough, an hour later, Lan Luomu seized an opening in Lan Luohan and sent her flying with a palm strike. After Lan Luohan landed on the ground, she spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face was full of unwillingness. As for Yin Chujio, she was not in his consideration at all. She was just a little trash. Don't look at how he won the small competition last time. This time, there was no such good thing. It was already good enough that he was not seriously injured. Lan Luoqing could not wait to defeat Yin Chujio and then compete with Lan Luomu for the first place. Therefore, after he stepped onto the competition stage, he urged Yin Chujio to come up to the competition stage. When he was a little impatient, Yin Chujio finally got on the stage slowly. Brother Luocheng, are you going to give me 3 more moves this time? He Xinjiu asked with a smile. Lan Luocheng's face turned even uglier when he recalled what happened last time. Stop dreaming. I don't have time to waste with you. Let's fight. Brother Luocheng, why don't we make a deal? If you admit defeat, I'll give you spirit stones. Lan Luocheng snorted coldly. Save your spirit stones to buy your own coffin. After saying that, Lan Luocheng directly slapped Yin Chujio. He Xinjiu dodged while saying, Are you shameless? How dare you ambush me? I think you should stop calling me Lan Luocheng and call me Shameless Lan instead. Chapter 4796 was Sword Intent. Lan Luocheng had learned his lesson from last time. No matter how much Yin Chujio scolded him, he did not say anything and took the opportunity to release his giant spiritual whale. This giant spiritual whale of his was much stronger than Lan Luofeng's spiritual tiger shark. Its body occupied almost half of the competition stage. Lan Luocheng's eyes were filled with pride. His giant spiritual whale was huge and could force the little trash in front of him off the competition stage without any effort. If she knew what was good for her, it would be fine. Otherwise, don't blame him for being ruthless. The huge body of the spiritual whale instantly appeared in front of Yin Chujio. Lan Luofeng could not help but cover her mouth. She even closed her eyes and did not dare to look. Lan Dimeo's expression was also very grave. If this little trash could not dodge in time, she would either die or be injured. She would definitely die. At this moment, he was surprised to find that Yin Chujio's body had jumped out from a very tricky angle and actually dodged the attack of the giant spiritual whale. Everyone let out a cry of surprise. Although they did not like Yin Chujio, the wonderful movement technique that she had just displayed still amazed them. Whether it was speed, angle, or timing, they were all just right. As long as she was just a little bit away, she would not be able to escape unscathed. Lan Luocheng was also shocked, but he did not take it to heart. No matter how mysterious her movement technique was, it would not be able to outlast his giant spiritual whale. Moreover, he had a supporting spiritual beast, and he himself had not made a move yet. Therefore, there was no suspense in this competition. Yin Chujio relied on her agile movement technique to dodge a few attacks from the giant spiritual whale. However, she knew that this could not go on. Even if she was tired, she would die. It seemed that she could only use her sword. Therefore, this fellow summoned cheap slut number 1 and displayed half of the sword techniques that she had learned on the rock wall. When everyone saw that Yin Chujio had summoned her treasured sword, they were somewhat disapproving. In the Chongshao continent, very few people used weapons in the process of fighting. This was because, in their opinion, not only were weapons useless, they were also a burden. Only people with very low spiritual power would use weapons to assist. Could it be that Yin Chujio wanted to rely on the sword in her hand to win? Although the sword was an immortal sword, it was also useless. She would definitely lose. However, after seeing Yin Chujio's sword technique, everyone was more or less shocked. Even if they did not know sword techniques, they could still see the profundity of this sword technique. Moreover, in a short span of 10 breaths, Yin Chujio had already stabbed the giant spiritual whale several times. It was no longer as solid as before. Lan Luocheng snorted coldly and released his auxiliary spiritual beast, spiritual tiger shark. He was certain that as long as his auxiliary spiritual beast joined the battle, Yin Chujio would be defeated very quickly. After all, His auxiliary spiritual beast was more powerful than an ordinary person's natal spiritual beast. Seeing that the spiritual tiger shark was already less than 3 feet away from Yun Chujio, and Yun Chujio's energy was focused on the huge spiritual whale, it was obvious that she was already unable to resist the spiritual tiger shark. Seeing this, everyone had different expressions. Most of them were gloating they deserved it. I told you to show off. I told you to be pampered. Now let's see what you can do. Trash is trash. No matter how pampered you are, you're still trash. However, in the next moment, everyone was stunned. They saw that the spiritual tiger shark was actually blocked by an invisible barrier. They were extremely sure that it wasn't a spiritual energy barrier. What was that thing? I know. That's sword intent. Someone cried out in surprise. Chapter 4797. The Little Black Bird's Reminder Sword Intent? Even though these people looked down on people who used weapons, they still knew how difficult it was to comprehend sword intent. This Yun Chujio had actually comprehended sword intent? Lan Luoqing frowned slightly. He did not expect that Yun Chujio had actually comprehended sword intent. Humph, even so, sword intent could not stop the spirit tiger shark for long. She was definitely going to lose. Sure enough, the spiritual tiger shark had broken through the sword intent in just a few breaths. Lan Dimeo couldn't help but shake his head. If this little trash's spiritual power level was a little higher, perhaps the sword intent's effect would be a little stronger. The current defensive strength was basically useless. However, just as he was thinking, he was stunned to find that the spiritual tiger shark was blocked by another layer of barrier. He was so shocked that his mouth was wide open. Could it be that this little trash had comprehended 2 sword intents? That's not right. Even if he had comprehended 2 sword intents, it was impossible to stack them together? Even Lan Dimeo was so confused, not to mention the others. They were all looking at the competition on the stage in a daze. Lan Luoqing's expression changed slightly. He didn't expect that Yun Chujio had actually comprehended 2 sword intents. Initially, he wanted to tease her, but now it seemed that it was better to end the battle as soon as possible. After all, he still had to fight Lan Luomu. Therefore, he leaped forward and joined the battle. He did not believe that Yun Chujio could fight against 3 people alone. Yun Chujio secretly complained in her heart. Although she still had a layer of sword intent barrier, it was still too difficult for her to win against Lan Luoqing. Unfortunately, she was not allowed to use talismans and poison, or else he would not die. This guy had no choice but to hold the sword in his right hand and shoot out several small purple needles in his left hand towards Lan Luoqing and his 2 spiritual beasts. Lan Luoqing knew that these small purple needles would explode, so he used his palm wind to send them flying. Moreover, his 2 spiritual beasts also used their claws to send the small purple needles flying. Lan Luoqing's eyes flashed with malice as he slapped towards Yun Chujio's front heart. However, his palm wind was blocked by a layer of barrier. This time, not only was Lan Luoqing and the others stunned, even the old ancestor was shocked. This little girl had actually comprehended 3 types of sword intent, and she could even stack them? It seemed that other than her mouth, she still had some real ability. Lan Luoqing never thought that Yun Chujio actually had another trick up her sleeve. He snorted coldly and stepped up his attack. Not to mention 3 layers of sword intent stacked together. Even if 4 layers of sword intent stacked together, she was still not his match. Lan Luoqing's arrogance was not without reason. As time passed, Yun Chujio was somewhat unable to withstand it. After all, there was a huge difference in the level of their spiritual power. Moreover, even if the spiritual beast was dispersed, Lan Luoqing could completely reappear. It was only because Yun Chujio's physical strength and spiritual power were different from ordinary people. Otherwise, she would not have been able to hold on for long. If the old ancestor had not mentioned the conditions, He Xinjie would have admitted defeat long ago. But now, she had to win this round no matter what. What should she do? How about using a large kitchen knife to try? However, she was also afraid that the large kitchen knife's abnormality would attract unnecessary trouble. She was really worried to death. At this moment, Xiao Hanio inside the spirit beast bag said. Master, it'll curse him. Seize the time to take him down. Hearing this, Yin Chujio secretly cursed herself for being so stupid that she had forgotten about Xiaohei. Hence, Yin Chujio deliberately retreated to the edge of the competition stage. Lan Luoqing could not help but reveal a look of joy. This Yin Chujio was already unavoidable. As long as he put in more effort, he would be able to knock her off the stage. Chapter 4798. Yin Chujio. One coincidentally, at this moment, the 3 layers of sword intent that Yin Chujio once again displayed were all broken. Lan Luoqing used 100% of his strength and slapped towards Yin Chujio's front heart. He sneered in his heart. With this palm strike, even if Yin Chujio didn't die, she would still need to rest in bed for half a year. However, at this moment he staggered. In addition to using too much strength, his body lost its balance, and he knelt on one leg on the ground. Before he could understand what was going on, Yin Chujio's sword stabbed towards his eyes. As the distance was too close, and the incident happened too suddenly, he did not even have the time to set up his spiritual energy shield. He subconsciously rolled on the ground. Unfortunately, he forgot that this was the edge of the competition stage. Yin Chujio calculated the direction again. With this roll, he directly rolled to below the stage. Although Lan Luoqing did not fall, he realized that he had actually lost in such a muddle-headed manner. He almost died from anger. His 2 spiritual beasts were still on the stage. Therefore, he used his spiritual sense to command them to rush towards Yin Chujio in exasperation. Yin Chujio, this fellow, dodged while shamelessly shouting, Elder Ning, Elder Ning! That shameless Lan Luoqing has violated the rules. He has already fallen, yet he still uses his spiritual beasts to chase after me. Please make him stop. Elder Ning's eyes twitched for a moment. Then he jumped onto the competition stage and waved his palm to disperse Lan Luoqing's 2 spiritual beasts. Then he announced, this round the 3rd branch, Yin Chujio wins. Everyone was a little dumbfounded. How did Lan Luoqing lose? How did he fall off the stage in a daze? Yin Chujio won just like that? The great elder called Lan Luoqing to the side and asked with a sullen face, what happened? Grandfather, I don't know why I slipped just now, so. You must be eager to win, so you accidentally fell down. How many times have I warned you to be calm and not be rash in a fight? What a waste. The great elder was so angry that he was twitching. It was fine if he lost to Lan Luomu or Lan Luohan, but he just lost to Yin Chujio. Moreover, he had already lost twice, so he had nowhere to put his old face. On the other side, Lan Dimeo was naturally very happy. Regardless of how he had won, it was a good thing that he had won. However, he had benefited the 2nd branch. This little trash was not a match for Lan Luomu on one hand. And on the other hand, after fighting with Lan Luoqing for so long, both her physical strength and spiritual power were almost exhausted. It was impossible for her to win. He felt that the sword intent from before was already Yin Chujio's trump card. This little girl didn't have any other abilities. As for taking her to the Zen sect, it was just bait for fishing. He didn't plan to take her at all, because he was sure that Yin Chujio wouldn't be able to win first place. If there wasn't a sect competition, perhaps Lan Luomu would lose, because he underestimated his opponent. However, Lan Luomu had already learned from the previous lesson, and Yin Chujio's physical strength had decreased by so much. She would definitely lose. As for the drawing of lots, it was naturally rigged, which was why Yin Chujio was so unlucky. Yin Chujio originally wanted to rest for a while, but she did not expect Elder Ning to immediately let Lan Luomu go on the stage and let the 2 of them start the competition. Yin Chujio secretly complained. She had already used up more than half of her stamina and spiritual power. Even if she was a pervert, it would still have an effect. Moreover, Xiaohei's curse could only be used once a day. No matter what, she could not beat the energetic Lan Luomu. This guy rolled his eyes and decided to release the Gowei Batsao first. She was going to stall for time. Chapter 4799 now knew that it was cute. Lan Luomu stared at Yin Chujio viciously. Although his hand had already recovered, due to second elder's use of the immortal Luomu bone healing ointment. The grudge of losing his hand was irreconcilable. Today, he would make this wretched girl pay the price. He did not have any gentlemanly style, and did not want a good reputation. So he did not plan to give Yin Chujio any time to recover her strength. However, just as he was about to make a move, he heard Yin Chujio say, "Wait a minute. I'll let my spiritual beast out for a walk first, then we'll make a move." Before Lan Luomu could say anything, a huge purple Goei Batsao appeared in front of everyone. Some of the people present had never seen Goei Batsao before. So when they saw Goei Batsao, they were all dumbfounded. TSK. This was the first time they had seen a spiritual beast that was a plant. Even if it was a plant, it could transform into a poisonous vine or something like that. It was actually a Goei Batsao. Could this thing have any offensive power? No wonder Yin Chujia's swordsmanship was not bad. She probably knew that her spiritual beast was too useless, so she focused on practicing her swordsmanship. Because of the Goei Batsao in the middle, Lan Luomu could not directly fight with Yin Chujio. While he was considering whether to release his spiritual beast, he heard Yin Chujio say, "Old ancestor, this should be the first time you have seen such an interesting spiritual beast, right? You are a little curious, right? Let me tell you, my Goei Batsao is not an ordinary Goei Batsao." If Yin Chujio was talking to herself or to others, Lan Luomu would definitely attack her without caring about anything else. However, Yin Chujio was talking to old ancestor now, so he did not dare to act rashly. He could only bite his back teeth and listen to Yin Chujio chattering away. "Old ancestor, although this Goei Batsao of mine doesn't have much attack power, it knows how to act cute. Come, Goei Batsao, show old ancestor your heart." Hei Shinjio said this, but her spiritual sense was teasing the strange grass in her dantian. "Guaichao little cutie, cooperate well with me. After the competition, I'll go to the medicine shop to buy you some herbs to eat. You can buy whatever you want to eat." Guaichao shook its leaves arrogantly. Now it knew how to beg it. Now it knew that it was cute. What did it do when it scolded it previously? Humph. It has a backbone. How can I make it act cute? No way. Therefore, Hei Shinjio was embarrassed. Not only did the giant Goei Batsao not act cute, instead, it lay on the competition stage with a half-dead look. Ahem, old ancestor, it's bowing to you. It's bowing to you," Hei Shinjio said with a dry smile. The corner of the old ancestor's mouth twitched. He could see that this Goei Batsao not only had no offensive power, but the little girl was obviously not skilled enough to command it. With her level, she would definitely lose. Seeing that the old ancestor did not say anything, Lan Luomu snorted coldly. Yin Chujio glared at Goei Batsao, who was lying on the ground, and then laughed lightly. "Don't be so full of yourself. You're just a defeated opponent. Where did you get the courage to talk to me like that?" Lan Luomu's expression became even colder. He sneered and released a spiritual sea snake. "Yin Chujio, my auxiliary spiritual beast can crush a Goei Batsao like you. I'll deal with your spiritual beast first before dealing with you." Chapter 4800. Which big sister Wu Yin did this? Yin Chujio shrugged her shoulders indifferently. She originally wanted to deal with this damned Goei Batsao. Although it was only a spiritual beast, she could still vent her anger by watching it get abused. Moreover, she could use this period of time to recover her physical strength. The spiritual sea snake spat out its tongue and pounced fiercely at the Goei Batsao. Just when everyone thought that the Goei Batsao would be instantly destroyed by the attack, the Goei Batsao suddenly shrunk several times. It started jumping around on the competition stage. It even jumped on the head of the spiritual sea snake, and the flower tassel that looked like the Goei Batsao wagged its tail proudly. Everyone. Why did this Goei Batsao look so similar to that Yin Chujio? They were all the same. Shameless. However, it seemed that this Goei Batsao only knew how to dodge, and did not have any means to fight back. It was really useless. Hei Xinjia's heart also felt like a dog's. She originally thought that this Goei Batsao could at least use its leaves to whip a few times. But now that she looked at it, it was even more useless than her. Cough cough, it was a slip of the tongue. It was purely a slip of the tongue. She was much better than this Gowei Batsao. Lan Luomu looked at the Gowei Batsao that was fleeing in all directions with disdain. Then, he summoned his intrinsic spiritual beast, a fierce spiritual blood crocodile. He and the spiritual blood crocodile attacked Yin Chujio at the same time. When Yin Chujio and Lan Luoqing were fighting, Lan Luomu had already thought of a way to break Yin Chujio's stacked sword intent. That was to focus on one point, which would quickly break the stacked sword intent. Even if Yin Chujio could release the sword intent immediately, her physical strength and spiritual power would not be able to hold on for a long time. The facts proved that he was right. Yin Chujio quickly fell into a disadvantageous position. This fellow was forced to retreat repeatedly. In her heart, she thought that if she wanted to win, she only had two ways now. She could either summon a large kitchen knife, or use the small flame in her right palm. However, no matter which method she used, that old fox of the Lan family's ancestor would probably discover the clues. It was really too complicated. As for the trick of pretending to fall, he could only use it once. If he used it again, it would be self-defeating. What should he do? It was a pity that her Jinx mouth skill was not effective at times. Otherwise, if she summoned a heavenly lightning to strike Lan Luomu to death, how good would that be? Sigh. Boom. A thick purple heavenly lightning descended from the sky and coincidentally struck Lan Luomu's body. Lan Luomu was stunned. If he had been prepared, this lightning bolt could only slightly injure him. However, due to the sudden turn of events, the lightning bolt knocked him out. Oh my god, which big sister Wu Yin did this? It was so fucking awesome. This fellow did not have time to think. He kicked Lan Luomu, who had fainted under the stage. Lan Luomu's spiritual beast dissipated very quickly, because his spiritual attack was cut off. Yin Chujio said smugly, "Did you see that? Even the heavens are helping me. Ha ha ha. To be honest, I really didn't want to get first place. But I didn't expect that I would get first place just by casually sparring. A low-profile person, like me, really doesn't want to attract so much attention. How did I get first place just like that? I'm also very helpless." Lan Luomu, who had just woken up, was so angry that he fainted again when he heard this guy's shameless words. At first, Lan Dimeo's face was full of confusion, but then he laughed so hard that he couldn't close his mouth. Haha, he didn't expect this big pie to fall on the heads of the three of them. Although this little trash wasn't very capable, he was lucky. It seems that bringing her back is the right decision. Chapter 4801. Guai Chao, who was about to die of anger. Lan Dimeo was happy. The first elder and second elder were so angry that they almost vomited blood. They never dreamed that a little trash of the ninth layer of the quietness of the soul would win the first place in the competition. The second elder was even angrier than the first elder. No matter what, Lan Luoqing lost because he made a mistake. However, Luomu was knocked out by the heavenly lightning. That was why that stupid girl took advantage of him. He was so angry. The Lan family's patriarch had a complicated look on his face. Firstly, he had never expected such an outcome. Secondly, since Yin Chujio had won first place, he could only fulfill his promise to take her to the Zen sect. It was a bit of a headache to think about it. Of course, he could go back on his words, and Yin Chujio would not dare to do anything to him. However, if this was the case, this matter would become a demon in his heart. After all, it was not right for him to deceive a junior with his identity. Compared to these people, some people know some grass were more suffocating. The strange grass in Yin Chujio's dantian was so angry that it was twitching. It was just about to show its true ability to make the black-hearted little girl look at it in a new light. Just as it was about to amaze the world and correct the name of the grass, it was intercepted by the heavenly lightning. It was so angry that it died. It recalled that Yin Chujio had asked it to act cute from the bottom of its heart, and it had courageously rejected it. The entire grass was in bad shape. It was all that damned lightning. It had not struck earlier or later, but it had struck at that time. It must have been deliberately going against it. Damn that bastard lightning. If it had known this would happen, it would not have played with the sea snake with spirit power. It would have directly used its true abilities. It was truly regretful. Yin Chujiu did not know what Guai Chao was thinking. After Elder Ning announced the results of the competition, the fellow happily jumped off the stage and went to the ancestor. Old ancestor, I won first place. You must keep your word. The old ancestor nodded with a stiff expression. Of course I'll keep my word. Well, set off in 3 days. Yin Chujiu was so smart. Although the old ancestor's performance was not very obvious, she could tell that the old ancestor was somewhat unwilling. Could it be that the old man had only proposed that condition to force her to use her true abilities? This fellow thought of the bad lot that she had drawn one after another, and instantly understood that she had been schemed against by this old fox. This fellow couldn't help but be on guard. This old fox was much more cunning than the people she had met before. She had to be more careful in the future. Although this fellow's heart was in turmoil, he revealed an obedient smile on his face. Thank you, old ancestor. Hearing the ancestor say to Yin Chujiu that they would set off in 3 days, everyone's heart beat faster. Where did the ancestor want to take Yin Chujiu? Second elder asked with a gloomy face. Yin Chujiu, where does the ancestor want to take you? Second uncle, grandpa, I don't dare to reveal this. You'd better ask the ancestor. Hei Xinjiu said with a smile. Second elder was furious. If he had the guts to ask the ancestor, why would he ask her? The others looked at Yin Chujiu with hostility and jealousy. What right did the ancestor have to treat her differently? Even if she got the first place, she got it by chance. The first round was bought by her with 50 spirit stones. The second round was given to her by Lan Luocheng. The third round was even more ridiculous. It was a heavenly lightning strike. Chapter 4802. Iron Rooster Yin Chujiu didn't care whether they were angry or not. She walked up to Lan Dimeo and said with a smile, Great uncle, did I perform well? Not bad, not bad. You are quite capable, haha. Lan Dimeo couldn't close his mouth. The first place in the family competition was not only good in reputation, but also beneficial. How could he not be happy? Hei Xinjiu said pitifully, Uncle, I've done a meritorious deed. Can you lend me some money? How much do you want to borrow? Forget about borrowing, I can even reward you. Lan Dimeo was in a good mood, and said with a smile, It's not much. It's only 2 million. Last time, I blew up the door of the wind blade room. Housekeeper Su has been asking me for money. Lan Dimeo's face instantly stiffened. He originally thought that Yin Chujiu would at most say 100,000 to 80,000. Who would have thought that this guy would ask for 2 million? However, since he had already said it, he couldn't go back on his words. Thinking about how his ancestor treated this little girl in a different light, and even wanted to bring her out, it wasn't wrong to win her over properly. Thus, he endured the pain and transferred 2 million high-grade spirit stones to Yin Chujiu. There's no need to return it. Consider it as a reward for you. Thank you, great uncle. I knew great uncle would be the most generous. Little Jiu will definitely be filial to you in the future. Hei Xinjia's mouth seemed to be dipped in honey, as she said with a smile. Lan Dimeo thought about how this fellow in front of him had been making him feel proud recently, and the heartache disappeared into thin air. After saying a few words, he left. When almost everyone had left, housekeeper Su came up and said, Miss Cousin, now that you have money, shouldn't you? Before he could finish his words, he heard Yin Chujiu say, Housekeeper Su, why are you so big-hearted? It was not easy for me to scam you. Is it easy for me to get some money? I'm planning to keep it for when I go out with the old ancestor. As for the money for the wind blade room, we'll talk about it in the future. Housekeeper Su. He finally understood that it was impossible for him to get the money. This fellow was an iron rooster. He simply didn't want to spend a single cent. If other people dared to go back on their word, he would have long sent them to the punishment room. However, he didn't dare to do so for this little ancestor in front of him. This person was someone who dared to knock on the city gate. He would only provoke her if he was tired of living. Therefore, Housekeeper Sue watched Hei Shinjo swagger away. I didn't expect that you really got lucky. You actually won the first place. Yun Chujio knew that she was at Sundara, so she did not mind. She said proudly, of course. I'm the favorite of Tian Dao. My luck has always been very good. If you follow me, I guarantee that you will benefit a lot. Lan Luofeng pouted. Don't be so smug. Although you got first place, don't you know how you got it? Let me tell you, you are now the public enemy of the Lan family. Everyone wants you to be unlucky. Yin Chujio sighed. Sigh, who asked me to be so outstanding? Being invincible is so lonely. Lan Luofeng was so angry that she rolled her eyes and said unhappily, Alright, stop showing off. You better be careful in the future, or you won't even know how you died. Yin Chujio curled her lips. Those who provoke me are the ones who are courting death. Let's go back to the residence, the sky is almost dark. I'm starving to death. Lan Luofeng knew that this guy was full of bad ideas, so she didn't bother to say anything more. The two of them returned to the third room. Chapter 4803. Guai Chao Yin Chujio returned to the courtyard to wash up before preparing to eat dinner. She picked up her chopsticks and was about to eat when a strange smile suddenly appeared on her lips. Hong Ling, who was serving at the side, shivered in fear. What was wrong with this little ancestor? Who received today's food? Yin Chujio put down her chopsticks and asked. Hong Ling was stunned. It's from Lulu. Miss, is there something wrong with the food? Call Lulu in. Yin Chujio said lightly. Hong Ling quickly went out and called Lulu in. Lulu didn't know what had happened, but when she saw that Hong Ling didn't look well, she became a little nervous. Miss, what do you want from me? Yin Chujio slammed the table and shouted. Did you receive this meal? Who gave you the courage to poison my meal? Lu Luo was so scared that she immediately knelt on the ground. Miss, I'm innocent. I wouldn't dare to poison you no matter how brave I am. Yin Chujio did not think that Lu Luo had poisoned her, but she wanted to test her reaction. Seeing that she did not look like she was lying, she said, Tell me what happened when you received the meal. Lu Luo did not dare to hide anything, and told her all the details. Yin Chujio narrowed her eyes. Lu Luo had come out from the kitchen to her courtyard without a second person handling it. This meant that the person who poisoned her had already done it in the kitchen. This was a bit difficult. There were many people in the kitchen, and there were people coming and going. It was really hard to say who had poisoned her. Yin Chujio looked at Hong Ling and Lu Luo. Build a small kitchen in the courtyard. Don't go to the big kitchen to get food in the future. Although she was not afraid of poison, these three maids were. She did not have the time to train three more maids. Hong Ling and Lu Luo's faces were pale as they agreed. Fortunately, the young lady was quick-witted. Otherwise, they would not have survived. Hong Ling and Lu Luo wanted to remove the dishes on the table, but Yin Chujio waved her hand. I like these dishes with seasonings. You don't have to care about me. You can leave now. Hong Ling and Lu Luo were a little confused, but they knew that this little ancestor would not trick them, so they respectfully left. Yin Chujio curled the corners of her lips and began to eat and drink. The poison in these dishes was nothing to Guai Chao. Even so, after dinner, Hei Shinjo scolded Guai Chao. Go away, ba, have you grown up? How dare you go against me? Besides, you are a piece of trash. Even if you use grass leaves to whip it, you are not a piece of trash. Guai Chao shook its leaf aggrievedly. It was not a piece of trash, but it had been struck by that damn heavenly lightning. Unfortunately, it could not speak and could only be scolded pitifully. Yin Chujio cursed for a while and comforted herself. Although Go Weiba was not in tune, it could at least help her to be immune to all poisons. It was better than that damn black bead. Oh right, there was also that scammer, the Great Void Mirror. It would go into hibernation from time to time, as if it did not exist. Who knew how long it would take to find the last fragment? 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Early in the morning, Hei Shinjo hopped to the ancestral residence and prepared to follow the Lan family's ancestor to the Zen sect. The first elder and the other two had already received the news the day before, So they all came to see her off. The second elder looked at Hei Shinjio, who was standing behind the ancestor, and was instantly furious. He secretly hated the old bald donkeys of the Zen sect. This stupid girl was also a troublemaker. Perhaps she would cause trouble when she arrived at the Zen sect. At that time, she would be in big trouble. Chapter 4804. Old Hunchback. The old ancestor gave a few simple instructions to the three elders before leaving the ancestral residence with Hei Shinjio, who was all smiles. The old ancestor did not bring any guards. He only brought a servant, a hunchbacked old man. Hei Shinjio thought to herself, "It seems that this old fox is confident enough to protect himself. Otherwise, he would not even bring any guards." However, she reckoned that this hunchback must be very powerful. Otherwise, with so many people in the ancestral mansion, the old ancestor wouldn't have insisted on bringing him along. After the three of them left the imperial city, the old ancestor summoned his flying spirit tool, and the three of them set off for the Zen sect. Compared to Lan Dimeo's luxurious flying spirit tool, the layout of the old ancestor's flying spirit tool was much simpler. However, Yun Chujio naturally wouldn't be foolish enough to think that this flying spirit tool couldn't be compared to Lan Dimeo's. "Old ancestor, this flying spirit tool of yours is also from the Qing family of the Valley of Fog." The old ancestor nodded. "That's right. The top flying spirit tools of the Chongshao continent are all from the Qing family of the Valley of Fog." Yun Chujio pondered in her heart when she heard this. If there was a chance, she would also get a few. This seemed to be much more awesome than her flying spirit tools. This fellow glanced at the hunchback again and asked, "Old ancestor, who is this?" "You can call him Old Hunchback," Grand Ancestor said indifferently. "Old Hunchback?" It seemed that this hunchback's status was not ordinary. Hei Shinjio thought and said with a smile, "Old Hunchback, you know that I'm useless. Please take care of me when I'm in danger." Old Hunchback's expression did not change. He did not even make a sound of acknowledgement. It was obvious that he did not take Hei Shinjio seriously. Hei Xinjia's expression did not change. She cursed in her heart. What's the point of being cocky? If he was really in danger, he might have to rely on her. Humph. Hei Shinjio did not dare to deal with Elder Tua like she did with Housekeeper Su. This Elder Tua's status was obviously not ordinary. Although he was very respectful to her ancestor, he did not look like a servant. Hei Shinjio had hit a soft spot with Elder Tua. She could only continue to get close to her ancestor. "Ancestor, tell me about the Zen sect. Isn't the Zen sect a Buddhist temple?" The corners of the ancestor's mouth twitched. He knew that the guy was trying to find something to talk about. Her parents were detained in the Zen sect, and she had been running to the library. How could she not know something about the Zen sect? However, he still said, "Although the Zen sect is a Buddhist temple, it is not a temple. It is a sect that cultivates the power of Buddha. The rules of the Zen sect are strict. You must be careful when you go there. Otherwise, even I won't be able to protect you. Do you understand?" Yun Chujio nodded obediently. "Don't worry, Patriarch. I will be obedient." Yun Chujio was very tactful. Seeing that her patriarch was no longer interested in talking, she returned to her cabin. This guy's heart was not calm. Her parents were detained in the Zen sect. She did not know if she could get any useful information from this trip. She really did not understand how his parents had offended the Zen sect. She remembered that Di Biming had once said that there was something wrong with the Yin family's ancestral tomb. She wondered if the Yin family's ancestral tomb had anything to do with the Zen sect. Thinking of this, she thought of Di Biming, who had not been heard from. She was so worried that she felt a little depressed. Fortunately, this guy had a big heart. After eating some food, he was lively again. She had to look on the bright side of everything. No matter what, she had made some progress by being able to go to the Zen sect once. As for the pretty boy, there should be no big problems. If something happened to the pretty boy, the Divine Devil Hall would not be so quiet. They would have been playing drums and gongs. Chapter 4805. Ancient Buddhist scripture. Yin Chujio originally wanted to probe her ancestor about the divine devil hall, but she was afraid that it would backfire, so she could only endure it. Her top priority now was to increase her strength. The rest of the things could be done slowly. Thinking of this guy began to sit cross-legged and cultivate to stabilize his realm. The journey was very smooth. 5 days later, the flying spirit tool arrived at the Zen sect. Yin Chujio looked at the misty mountain peak in front of her and was a little confused. Was this the Zen sect? Wasn't this just an ordinary mountain peak? At this moment, the scenery in front of them changed. In front of them was an ancient mountain gate with 2 big words written on the board, Zen sect. However, there was a vague word bitter in front of the Zen sect. It must have been erased later. Yin Chujio couldn't help but laugh. Why was the signboard of the Chongsha continent in such a tone? Why were all the words erased? An old monk came out from the mountain gate and said with a smile, "Master Lan came from afar. This penniless monk did not welcome you. I hope you will forgive me." "Master Li, you are too polite. Please forgive me for intruding on you," the old ancestor said politely. Yin Chujio cursed in her heart. 2 hypocritical old foxes, bah. The 2 exchanged a few more pleasantries before Master Li nodded at old Tua. "Almsgiver Tua, how have you been?" Old Tua also nodded and said coldly, "I have been all right." Master Li smiled, and then his gaze fell on Yin Chujio. He didn't say anything and called Master Lan to come in. Yin Chujio had read some information about the Zen sect. This Master Li had a high position in the Zen sect, second only to the sect master, Master Wu. Moreover, the people of the Zen sect were more rigid and cold. Only Master Li knew how to be flexible. Therefore, Master Li was in charge of dealing with other forces. After entering the Zen sect, Yin Chujio found that there was not much difference between the Zen sect and ordinary sects, except that they were all monks. The disciples of the Zen sect all had serious expressions on their faces. When they saw Yin Chujio and the others, they did not have any special expressions other than putting their palms together and standing at the side. Yin Chujio thought to herself, no wonder people said that the people of the Zen sect were a group of old-fashioned people. It was really true. Each and every one of them was like a wooden sculpture made of clay. It was obvious that they were all dead set. The Zen sect was quite large. Although the reception hall they were heading to was on the main peak, they still walked for a while before they arrived at the reception hall. Hei Shinjio followed behind the ancestor of the Lan family. Her eyes darted around as she thought to herself, none of these old monks are good. Otherwise, why would they imprison my parents? After exchanging pleasantries, the ancestor of the Lan family took out a sheepskin scroll from his storage ring and said with a smile, "Master Lu Wu, this is the ancient Buddhist scripture that I mentioned earlier. It would be a waste to leave it with me. It's more appropriate to leave it with your sect for safekeeping." Yin Chujio glanced at the sheepskin scroll, and her heart skipped a beat. She had bought a Buddhist scripture from a disciple of the Nameless Sword sect in order to deal with the drifter. It seemed very similar to this one. Master Lu's expression finally changed when he saw the sheepskin scroll. He became even more excited when he received the Buddhist scripture and opened it. He pressed his palms together and said, "Master Lan, this Buddhist scripture is extremely important to our Zen sect. Thank you very much." Master Lan said a few polite words and then said, "Master Lu, I plan to cultivate in the tranquil spring of your sect for a few days. I wonder if it would be convenient for me?" Chapter 4806. Spring of Tranquility. Yin Chujio finally understood why the ancestor of the Lan family came all the way to the Zen sect as a guest. It turned out that he had such an idea. The Zen sect had 3 treasures. One of them was the Spring of Tranquility. The Spring of Tranquility was the eye of a spring. It was said that this spring was created by the relic of the Buddha. Therefore, it had the effect of dispelling inner demons and calming one's mind. There was no need to drink this spring or bathe in it. One only needed to meditate and cultivate near it to have a miraculous effect. Generally speaking, the Spring of Tranquility was not open to the public. Even Zen sect disciples were not qualified to approach the spring of tranquility. It seemed that the old fox had communicated with this master, Hao Wu, before. The ancient Buddhist scripture from before was the condition of the exchange. Sure enough, Master Wu nodded. Of course. Later, I'll get a junior brother to bring you there. However, the discipline in the sect is very strict, so please be careful with your words and actions. The old ancestor of the Lan family smiled. Of course. We will definitely abide by the rules of your sect. Master Wu's gaze fell on Yin Chujio. He frowned slightly and said, This young benefactor has quite a strong murderous aura. Indeed, he should cultivate in the quiet spring to remove the karmic barrier. Although Yin Chujio did not quite understand the meaning of karmic barrier, she vaguely knew that it was the meaning of sin. She was furious. How could such a kind and good girl like her have any karmic barrier? That damned old monk was obviously blind. However, this fellow did not dare to blow his top. He revealed a silly smile and did not say a word. Master Li shook his head. He already knew that Yin Chujio was the daughter of Yin Fengjin and Yi Lan. However, the Buddha was merciful and did not punish his children. The Zen sect would not do anything to this little girl. However, if she committed evil, then she could only be punished according to the law. Master Lei's thoughts had already flown to the ancient Buddhist scriptures. After saying a few perfunctory words, he found an excuse to let a master bring the three ancestors of the Lan family to the Spring of Tranquility. The Spring of Tranquility was at the back of the mountain of the main peak. An hour later, everyone arrived at the Spring of Tranquility. The Spring of Tranquility was surrounded by an ancient tree. Although it was a spring, what everyone saw was a rather large pool. There were bubbles rolling in the middle of the pool. It should be the Spring of Tranquility. The bubbling bubbles produced sounds similar to the beating of a wooden fish. It was said that this was the main reason why people could calm their minds and focus their minds. The Lan family's ancestor and elder Tua's expressions were very pious. When they sensed this, their impetuous mood immediately calmed down. As for Hei Xinjiu, when she saw the pool of spring water, she thought to herself, I wonder if there are fish in the spring water. If there are fish, the taste will definitely be very delicious. Master Li left after Master Li said a few polite words. Ji Kong and Ji Su were two handsome young monks. However, they looked very serious. Seeing that Master Li did not give them any instructions, they directly meditated in the distance. Yin Chujio pursed her lips. The way the Zen sect treated their guests was really complicated. Ancestor, it'll help you decorate the room. Don't worry. I've brought a few sets of blankets, pillows, dining tables, and rice bowls. I guarantee that you'll be comfortable. Hei Xinjiu said with a smile. The ancestor of the Lan family. They were here for a retreat, not an outing, okay? Chapter 4807. Jesus' little brother Yin Chujio sneaked into a small wooden house, without waiting for the ancestor of the Lan family to say anything. The furnishings in the wooden house were very simple. There was only a wooden bed, a table and a chair. Hei Xinjiu was like a hard-working bee. She rearranged the three small wooden houses, and arrived at the side of the spring. Seeing that the ancestor of the Lan family and elder Tua were meditating, she listened to the sound of bubbles coming out of the spring curiously. He did not feel anything, such as calming his mind or expelling the demons in his heart. She felt that it was just an ordinary bubbling sound. It was not as magical as it sounded. It was just the psychological effect of a human being. Blinking his eyes, he jumped in front of Ji Kong and Ji Su. Ji Kong stood up and put his palms together. Almsgiver Yin, what can I do for you? It's already noon. Shouldn't you be preparing vegetarian rice for us? I heard that your Zen sect has many delicious dishes, such as assorted tofu, jade bean rolls, stir-fried cabbage, lotus flower crisps. Ji Kong. Ji Su. Was this person here to cultivate or to eat? If he was not here to eat, how could he know so much about the vegetarian dishes here? Ji Kong said coldly. Almsgiver Yin, since the three of you are here to cultivate, you should abstain from eating. This is beneficial to your cultivation. Abstain from eating? Hei Xingjiu rolled her eyes immediately. In this world, food was the only thing that could not be let down. If she was not allowed to eat, she might as well be killed. Well, the old ancestor and elder Tua are here to cultivate. I'm here to be their servant girl, so I have to eat. If you don't fetch me my food, I'll have to fetch it myself. Ji Kong and Ji Su looked at each other. There were no female disciples in the Zen sect. If the little girl were to go to the vegetarian hall, it would definitely cause trouble. Therefore, Ji Kong said in a flat tone, "In that case, I'll go fetch the vegetarian meal for almsgiver Yin." "Almsgiver Yin, please wait a moment." Yin Chuju nodded happily and added, "Well, I have a big appetite, so I'll get more." Ji Kong's face stiffened, but he did not say anything, and went to get the vegetarian meal for this fellow. Jesus' face stiffened. "Benefactor Yin, please address this penniless monk by my Dharma name. Also, this penniless monk still has to meditate. Benefactor Yin, please go back. TSK, your cultivation is obviously not good enough. This form of address is just a worldly thing. Even if I call you Miss Ji Su, your expression should not change," Yin Chujo said with a pout. Jesus' face stiffened even more. "Almsgiver Yin, please leave. Master Li said that he would look for you and little brother Ji Kong if there's anything. How can you drive me away?" Is this how the Zen sect treats their guests? Yin Chujo puffed up her cheeks and said angrily. Ji Su obviously didn't know how to respond. He could only hold the Buddha bead in his hand and say nothing. Yin Chujo took out a spirit fruit and chewed it a few times. Then she asked, "Little brother Ji Su, have you been cultivating in the Zen sect since you were young? Where are your parents? Once you become a Buddhist, the past is all in the past. This penniless monk can no longer remember it." "Oh, so your brain isn't that good. You didn't remember it. But that's true. You were still young at that time. So it's inevitable that your memory isn't good," Yin Chujo said faintly. Jesus' expression turned a little ugly. "You're the one who's not good. Is this little girl sick?" Chapter 4808. She was here to eat for free. Yin Chujo glanced at Ji Su and was secretly happy. Little boy, even a pretty boy without 7 emotions and 6 desires was no match for me. A little monk like you was a piece of cake. Little brother Ji Su, I heard that your Zen sect cultivates Buddhist power. Which is more powerful, Buddhist power or spiritual power? Ji Su suppressed the impatience in his heart and said, "Buddha says that you don't fight. So it doesn't matter which is more powerful. Almsgiver Yin, senior brother Ji Kong will bring back the vegetarian meal very soon. So please go back and wait for him." Ji Su almost told Hei Xingjiu to get lost. Unfortunately, Hei Xingjiu was not aware of it at all. She nodded and said, "Oh, the Buddha Dharma is indeed profound. I've learned a lot from you. Ji Su, I haven't seen the people of the Zen sect fight yet. Let's exchange a few moves and see what I can do." Ji Su could not take it anymore. He decided to just meditate and ignore Ji Su. He thought that Yin Chujo would back down after this. He did not expect that Hei Xingjiu would be boisterous beside him. "Little brother Ji Su, can you introduce the Zen sect to me? Why don't you accompany me for a tour?" "Little brother Ji Su, who is more powerful between you and little brother Ji Kong? I guess he is more powerful, right? After all, your brain is not that good." Just when Ji Su was about to go crazy, Ji Kong came back. Seeing that there was food, Hei Xingjiu immediately beamed with joy and left. Seeing Jesus' livid face, Ji Kong asked in confusion, "Junior brother, what happened to you?" Ji Su remembered that Yin Chujo said Ji Kong was more powerful than him. He snorted coldly and said, "Nothing." Ji Kong was confused. People of the Zen sect rarely had emotional ups and downs. Why did his junior brother Ji Su look so impetuous? On the other side, Hei Xingjiu asked with a smile, "Ancestor Elder Tua, the vegetarian meal is here." The ancestor of the Lan family and Elder Tua didn't say anything. It was obvious that they had no intention of eating. Hei Xingjiu wished that the two of them wouldn't eat. She immediately started eating and drinking, and she even fed the rest of the vegetarian meal to the dumb cuties. Wasn't she afraid that the old monks would know that she was the ghost ancestor and kill her? Chiang thought about it again. Very few people knew that Yun Chujio was the ghost ancestor, so it wouldn't be a big deal. However, what had happened that would make the Zen sect hate the ghost ancestor to the bone? After lunch, Hei Shinjio walked around the pond a few times and found that there weren't even any aquatic plants, let alone fish. Blinking her eyes, she jumped in front of Ji Kong and Ji Su again. Ji Su frowned subconsciously and retreated a distance. Ji Kong was baffled, but he still stood up and asked, "Patron Yun, what can I do for you?" "Ji Kong, I heard that your Zen sect is rich in karma. Can you pick a basket for me?" Hei Shinjio asked with a smile. Ji Kong was startled by the title Ji Kong, and his eyes twitched when he saw the bamboo basket that was as tall as a man on the ground. He finally understood. This little girl was not here to cultivate. She was here to eat for free. Just as he was about to refuse, Ji Su said, "I'll go pick it." Before Ji Kong could react, Ji Su had already carried the bamboo basket and ran away. Ji Kong. Chapter 4809. From benefactor Yun. Ji Kong was still in a daze when he heard Yun Chujio say with a smile, "Ji Kong, you might not know this, but Ji Su has told me a lot about you." Ji Kong was stunned. "About me? What is it?" Yun Chujio covered her mouth. Ji Su specifically told me not to tell you. How did I let it slip?" "Ji Kong, just pretend that you didn't hear anything." After Hei Shinjio said that, she hopped away in a panic. Ji Kong's heart was beating fast. What did Ji Su say about him? Therefore, when Ji Su came back after picking the fruit, Ji Kong asked, "Ji Su, what did you say to benefactor Yun about me?" Ji Su frowned. "I didn't say anything. Don't listen to her nonsense." Ji Kong became even more suspicious when he heard that. If he didn't say anything, why was he so impatient? And why did he retreat previously? Why did he rush to pick the fruit? It was obvious that he was guilty. Ji Su was already in a bad mood. Now that he saw Ji Kong's unfriendly expression, he became even more dissatisfied with Ji Kong. In the next 2 days, Yun Chujio came over to sow discord and successfully caused Ji Kong and Ji Su to fight. The patriarch of the Lan family, who was cultivating in seclusion. Elder Tua. Didn't they say that the disciples of the Zen sect didn't fight for anything? Didn't they say that the disciples of the Zen sect were calm and unruffled? Didn't they say that the disciples of the Zen sect didn't fight for anything in the world? Why were the 2 disciples still fighting near the spring of tranquility? It was not bad that the 2 of them didn't know about it. It was mainly because the 2 of them had abandoned their distracting thoughts when they were cultivating in seclusion. Naturally, they didn't pay attention to the conversation between Hei Shinjio and Ji Kong, so they didn't know that it was all Hei Xinjia's doing. Seeing that Ji Kong and Ji Su were locked in a fight, the Lan family's ancestor did not know what to say. He could only send a voice transmission talisman to a Master Lei. "Master Lei, please come over for a moment." Master Lei did not know what had happened. When he saw Ji Kong and Ji Su fighting, he was so angry that he shouted, "Amitba! Amitba! Stop! Stop!" Only then did Ji Kong and Ji Su stop fighting. They stood there with bruises on their faces and did not make a sound. Master Li felt that he had nowhere to put his face. They actually fought in front of the guests. It was simply embarrassing. Master Li first expressed his apology to the Lan family's ancestor, then brought Ji Kong and Ji Su back to his meditation room. Master Li was furious. Although his cultivation was high, this incident was too embarrassing. "Evil creatures, have you forgotten the Buddha's admonition to you? Why did you quarrel?" Ji Kong said aggrievedly, "Master, Ji Su said bad things about me behind my back, and even accused me of stealing the offerings when I was cleaning the Buddha statue." "You're talking nonsense. When did I say something like that? Instead, you said that my memory has always been bad, and my brain isn't functioning properly," Ji Su said angrily. You're the one who's talking nonsense. I never said that. Besides, your brain isn't functioning properly to begin with. Then you're stealing the offerings. And you're slacking off. Seeing Ji Kong and Ji Su quarreling again, Master Li was so angry that his beard stood up. He wished he could kick these two guys out. All of you shut up and tell me one by one. What is going on? Moreover, since you said it behind my back, how did you know? Master Li asked sternly. Ji Su. Benefactor Yin said it. Ji Kong. Benefactor Yin said it. Chapter 48:10 The Demoness Master Li. Master Li twirled a circle of Buddhist beads in his hand and said, Ji Su, you go first. Tell me everything in detail. Ji Su also realized that something was not right, so he told the truth about what Yin Chujio had done. However, when he said little brother Ji Su, he was more or less uncomfortable. After Ji Su finished, Master Li asked Ji Kong to tell him what he knew. After Master Li heard it, how could he not understand that all of this was caused by Yin Chujio, that little girl? On one hand, he was angry that Yin Chujio had fooled his two disciples. On the other hand, he felt that his two disciples were as stupid as pigs. Amitba, a monk should not offend his mouth. Amitba, Amitba. Master Li chanted the name of Buddha several times before he looked at Ji Kong and Ji Su. Stop being greedy, angry, foolish, slow, and suspicious. Your cultivation is not enough. Ji Kong and Ji Su looked ashamed, but at the same time, they were very angry at the instigator. Ji Su was angry and aggrieved. He said, Master, although senior brother Ji Kong and I did not cultivate enough, we would not have broken the precepts if Yin Chujio did not sow discord between us. Ji Kong also echoed, Yes, Master, that Yin Chujio looks innocent and lively. But I didn't expect her to have such a vicious heart. She must have no good intentions when she came to our Zen sect. Master, give the order. We will send her to the discipline hall now. Master Li looked at his two disciples speechlessly. Send her to the discipline hall? Which rule did she break in our Zen sect? Think carefully. What did she tell you at that time? Ji Kong and Ji Su were instantly terrified. They carefully recalled what Yin Chujio said, but it was all plausible. She was only guiding them. Everything was their own speculation and misunderstanding. They really could not find any evidence against her. Master Li shook his head. The Zen sect disciples were dedicated to cultivating Buddhist power. Although their cultivation was profound, because they were isolated from the mortal world, their minds were mostly very simple. How could they be a match for that little girl? But why did she do that? Wasn't she afraid of angering the Zen sect? Master Li also knew Yin Chujio's identity, so he was a little suspicious. This little girl was not here for Yin Fengjin and his wife, was she? Master Li shook his head again. Since that little girl was so smart, she would not do such a thing. Then why did she want to sow discord between Ji Kong and Ji Su? Master Li could not figure out Yin Chujio's thoughts at the moment. He said to Ji Kong and Ji Su, This matter will be treated as your training. Continue to work at the Spring of Tranquility. Ji Kong and Ji Su had no choice but to return to the Spring of Tranquility. Brothers, are you okay? Why did you fight all of a sudden? You scared me to death. Ji Kong and Ji Su looked at He Xinjiu, who looked like a frightened little rabbit, and were furious. At this moment in their eyes, Yin Chujio was a female devil. However, thinking of the instructions of a Master Li, and the fact that Yin Chujio was a guest, they could not do anything, so they agreed perfunctorily and began to meditate on the spot. They figured out that Yin Chujio could say whatever she wanted to say, and they could not say anything, so she could not stir up trouble. Chapter 48:11 I'm staying here. Seeing that the two of them were ignoring her, Yin Chujio was not annoyed and started to brag about her great achievements. Ji Kong and Ji Su were annoyed, but they were on duty now and could not seal their five senses, so they could only listen to the devil's voice. The two of them thought that perhaps if they were further away from the spring of tranquility, the female devil would not bother them anymore. Therefore, the two of them retreated a great distance, but Yin Chujio still chased after them like a dog-skin plaster. The two of them could not bear it anymore, and they begged a Master Li to give them another job. It was simply too torturous. Master Li refused flatly. If you don't even have this bit of willpower, how can you break through your cultivation? Ji Kong and Ji Su had no choice but to return to the spring of tranquility with their heads drooping. But they saw that the female devil was eating a drumstick. The two of them were overjoyed. Haha, they finally had something on her. She dared to eat meat in the Zen sect. This was a big taboo. The most important rule in the Zen sect was that even guests were no exception. Ji Kong and Ji Su looked at each other and decided to take Yin Chujio directly to the discipline hall. It was quite a distance from the spring of tranquility. The head of the Lan family and that old hunchback were cultivating in seclusion, so they could not notice it at all. Even if the incident was exposed, they would have an excuse to say that they had taken Yin Chujio away to avoid disturbing their cultivation. Besides, the Zen sect wasn't afraid of the Lan family at all. This time, it was Yin Chujio who was courting death. Even the patriarch of the Lan family had nothing to say. Therefore, the two of them didn't say anything and directly restrained Yin Chujio's spiritual power, escorting her to the discipline hall. Yin Chujio did not resist. She let the two of them escort her to the discipline hall, still holding the drumstick in her hand. Ji Kong and Ji Su only felt that all the pent-up frustration that they had accumulated over the past few days had been swept away. They were the personal disciples of a Master Li. Usually, they had a smooth sailing in the Zen sect. However, they had been played by this female devil, so naturally, they had been very aggrieved. Now this female devil had violated the precepts. Although the punishment was not too severe, it could at least let them vent their anger. The two of them escorted Yin Chujio to the gate of the discipline hall, and then they released Yin Chujio's spiritual power. Ji Su said with a hint of schadenfreude, Almsgiver Yin, according to the sect rules, you will be punished with a cane for such behavior. You'd better take care of yourself. Yin Chujio glanced at him and then shouted, I'm wronged. I'm wronged. The Zen sect actually framed a guest. I've learned a lot. Ji Su and Ji Kong were shocked. Had this female devil gone mad? She was still holding the drumstick in her hand. How could she be wronged? At this time, Elder Lei Yin of the discipline hall happened to arrive. He frowned when he saw the situation. What happened? Ji Su quickly said. Martial uncle, this almsgiver Yin is openly eating meat in our Zen sect, so senior brother Ji Kong and I brought her here. Nonsense. When did I eat meat? It's obviously made of flour. I asked my maid to make it for me, so that I wouldn't break the rules of the Zen sect. I didn't expect that you would bring me to the discipline hall without any reason. Is this the way of your Zen sect to treat guests? Hei Shinjio said angrily. Made of flour? Ji Kong and Ji Su were dumbfounded. Ji Su snatched the drumstick from Yin Chujio's hand and took a look. Wasn't it? It was really made of flour. They were too excited just now, so they didn't take a closer look. The two of them could only smile apologetically and say, Benefactor Yin, this is all a misunderstanding. I'm sorry. Let's go back now. Go back. You guys wronged me for no reason. Are we just going to let it go? I'm not going back. If you don't give me an explanation today, I'll just stay here and not leave. As Yin Chujio said this, she directly took out the small pony and sat down at the door of the discipline hall. She looked at Ji Kong and Ji Su angrily. Chapter 48 12 Drama Queen Ji Kong and Ji Su saw that Yin Chujio refused to leave, and their claws were instantly numb. Although they had imprisoned Yin Chujio's spiritual power previously, they had directly brought her to the discipline hall under the premise that they thought that Yin Chujio had violated the rules. Now that they had already figured out that it was a misunderstanding, They naturally could not forcefully attack the guest. Benefactor Yun, this is all our fault. Don't bother with us, Ji Kong said with an apologetic smile. Yun Chujio snorted coldly. Don't bother with you? You were gloating just now, wishing that I would be caned. I don't understand. How did a kind and cute little girl like me provoke you? How could you treat me so viciously? Ji Kong and Ji Su almost spat out a mouthful of blood. How shameless could you be? How could you be kind and cute? Don't insult these two words. Although the two of them wished they could slap this guy to death, the Zen sect's rules were strict. How could they dare to attack their guests? They could only rack their brains to apologize and hope that Yin Chujio would let them off. Elder Lei Yin of the discipline hall had been watching from the side and did not say anything. Firstly, he did not know the whole story, and secondly, he also knew Yin Chujio's identity. He wanted to see what this little girl's motive was. Just when Elder Lei Yin thought that Yin Chujio was going to take the opportunity to propose some conditions, he heard her sigh and say, "Forget it. In the softest person. Since you know that you're wrong, I won't make things difficult for you. Let's go back to the spring of tranquility." Ji Kong and Ji Su almost cried when they heard that. This female devil had finally relented. Otherwise, they really didn't know what to do. Elder Yin shook his head as he watched the three people leave. Was he thinking too much? The little girl was not scheming anything? After a while, Hei Shinjio saw that they were quite a distance away from the discipline hall. So she said faintly, "My noodles and drumsticks have been dirted by you. I'm so hungry that I'm going to whip them. Take me to the vegetarian hall to eat." Ji Kong said awkwardly, Almsgiver Yin, why don't you and junior brother Ji Su go back to the spring of tranquility first? I'll go to the vegetarian hall to get your vegetarian meal. You see." Ji Kong wished he could kick this guy away. However, when he saw the Zen disciples passing by looking over curiously, he gritted his teeth and said, "All right, I will take you to the dining hall to eat the vegetarian meal. However, you can't run around or talk casually." Yin Chujio immediately stood up with a smile and said, "Little brother Ji Kong, I knew you were the most reasonable. Let's go quickly." Ji Kong and Ji Su felt as if their hearts had been bawled out. This female devil had changed her face just like that. She was simply a drama queen. The two reluctantly brought Yin Chujio to the vegetarian hall. It was lunchtime, so there were many Zen sect disciples in the hall. When the crowd saw Yin Chujio, although no one said anything, their eyes were full of inquiry. Although there were occasional guests from the Zen sect, none of them came directly to the dining hall, let alone a female benefactor. Ji Kong and Ji Su saw the inquisitive eyes of the crowd and wished they could find a hole to hide in. Ji Kong hurriedly took a plate of vegetarian rice and handed it to Yin Chujio. "Benefactor Yin, please enjoy your meal." Yin Chujio did not make things difficult for him and began to eat slowly. While Yin Chujio was enjoying her meal, she heard a cold and solemn voice say, "Ji Kong, Ji Su, have you forgotten the rules of the sect? Why did you bring an outsider to the vegetarian hall?" Chapter 48:13. Ji Ping. Yin Chujio looked up and saw that the person who spoke was a middle-aged monk. His gaze was different from the clarity of Ji Kong and Ji Su. It was filled with calculation and ruthlessness. Ji Kong and Ji Su immediately stood up. Ji Kong quickly explained, "Senior brother Ji Ping, almsgiver Yin is hungry and happens to be very close to the dining hall. So we..." Before Ji Kong could finish his words, Ji Ping shouted sternly, "These are all excuses. Why aren't you taking your people and leaving? Otherwise, I can only ask my people to drive you out." Senior brother Ji Ping, almsgiver Yin is a guest of the Lan family. Ji Kong wanted to explain, but was interrupted by Ji Ping again. "I don't care about the Lan family or the Hong family. The rules of the Zen sect cannot be broken. Get out now." Ji Kong had no choice but to look at Yin Chujio with a troubled expression. "Almsgiver Yin, I have already gotten you an extra vegetarian meal. Let's go now." Yin Chujio ignored Ji Kong and looked at Ji Ping. There doesn't seem to be a rule that forbids guests from eating in the vegetarian hall, right? Can the rules of the Zen sect change so easily? Ji Ping did not expect Yun Chujio to dare to question his words. She was just a junior of the Lan family, and she dared to question him? She really did not know what she was capable of. Ji Ping snorted coldly. Almsgiver Yun, this is not the Lan family. I advise you to stay out of trouble. Ji Kong and Ji Su suddenly had a bad premonition. They quickly said, Almsgiver Yun, let's go quickly. Otherwise, the master of the Lan family will be worried if he can't find you. Yun Chujio glanced at the two of them, and then at Ji Ping. She said faintly, wait until I finish eating before we leave. There's no rush. Ji Kong and Ji Su were so anxious that they wanted to bang their heads against the wall. Ji Ping revealed a cold smile. He was the direct disciple of the sect master, Master Li. Logically speaking, he should be responsible for receiving guests. However, Master Li handed over the task of receiving guests to a master. And every time, Master Li would let Ji Kong and Ji Su be responsible for receiving guests. After a few times, Ji Ping's heart was no longer in balance. In his opinion, being able to receive guests on one hand showed how highly valued they were, and on the other hand could expand his network. This would be very useful for him to inherit the position of sect master in the future. Most importantly, the Zen sect was different from other sections. All the successive disciples had the qualifications to become the successor of the sect master. Therefore, Ji Ping had always disliked Ji Kong and Ji Su. However, he didn't have any evidence against them, so he didn't want to make things difficult for Ji Ping. Now that he finally found such an opportunity, he naturally had to make use of it. Ji Kong, Ji Su, I'll give you one last chance. Either you take your people and leave now, or I'll get someone to chase you out, Ji Ping said with a sneer. Ji Kong and Ji Su were about to persuade Yun Chujio when they heard a clang, followed by the sound of bowls and plates shattering. The two of them looked closely, and saw that it was Yun Chujio who had kicked the table over. Their heads buzzed. This was bad. The situation was going to blow up. If you don't want to eat, then we want to eat. Brothers, let's go. Yun Chujio turned around, and was about to leave the dining hall. Ji Ping never dreamed that Yun Chujio would dare to kick the table. How could he let her leave? He shouted, stop. How dare you to kick the table? Yun Chujio laughed lightly. Old monk Ji Ping, I just accidentally knocked over the table just now. Don't accuse me wrongly. Chapter 48:14. Beat you to death, old monk? Ji Ping's nose almost went crooked from anger. Although he was older than Ji Kong and Ji Su, he was definitely not old. This wretched girl must have done it on purpose. Stop quibbling. Someone bring her to the discipline hall, Ji Ping said exasperatedly. Ji Kong hurriedly said, Senior brother Ji Ping, please calm down. Benefactor Yin didn't do it on purpose. Shut up. And the two of you, you left your post without permission, and brought an outsider to the vegetarian hall. You can go to the discipline hall to be punished together. Ji Ping said coldly. Ji Kong and Ji Su were so anxious that their foreheads were covered in sweat. Although they wanted Yun Chujio to be punished, it was different from the current situation. They had brought Yun Chujio to the discipline hall just to vent their anger. They didn't really want to do anything to Yun Chujio. However, Ji Ping was a member of the discipline hall. He had always been ruthless and disliked them. Perhaps he would punish them directly without telling Master Li. At that time, even if he did not die, he would still be skinned alive. At this time, 7 or 8 monks had already walked up to Yun Chujio, and the other two. They looked at them with an unfriendly expression. Please. Ji Kong was about to send a message to a Master Li when Ji Ping shouted coldly, You better behave yourselves. Otherwise, I don't mind confining your spiritual power. At this moment, Yun Chujio said with a chuckle, I always thought that the Zen sect was an isolated place. There was no so-called intrigue, no so-called conspiracy, and now it seems that this is all there is to it. I was only having a meal, and yet I was able to suffer such an unexpected disaster. I'm afraid, old monk Ji Ping, your intention is not in the bar, is it? TSK, are the two little brothers Ji Kong and Ji Su in your way? That's true. The two brothers are much cuter than you. Only a blind person would choose you as the successor of the sect master. As soon as Yin Chujia's words left her mouth, the entire dining hall fell into a dead silence. Although most of the people from the Zen sect were simple-minded, they were not fools. They knew a thing or two about Ji Ping's thoughts, but no one had ever dared to say it so bluntly. This Yin Chujia was really bold. Wasn't she afraid that Ji Ping would kill her out of embarrassment? Although she was a guest and a member of the Lan family, the Lan family was not enough to be compared to the Zen sect. Moreover, the head of the Lan family would not fall out with the Zen sect over a mere junior. Moreover, this Yin Chujio had run to the dining hall by herself. Even if things got out of hand, she was not in the right. As expected, after Ji Ping heard Yin Chujio's words, a fierce look flashed across his eyes. Thinking of this, the Buddha power in Ji Ping's hand instantly condensed into a black lotus, and he was about to attack Yin Chujio. Seeing this, Ji Kong and Ji Su hurriedly stepped forward to stop him. Senior brother Ji Ping, you can't. A trace of viciousness flashed in Ji Ping's eyes. Just as he was about to heavily injure Ji Kong and Ji Su, he stumbled and received a heavy blow to his head, causing him to faint on the ground. Ji Kong and Ji Su were dumbfounded. They only saw a flash before they saw Ji Ping faint on the ground. What shocked them the most was that the female devil was holding a rolling pin and beating Ji Ping up. You are so shameless. You want to use me as an excuse to kill Ji Kong and Ji Su. I will beat you to death. This is for Ji Su. This is for Ji Kong. This is for me. This is for the table. Chapter 48:15 of the Zen sect was too terrifying. Logically speaking, Ji Ping's cultivation base was much higher than He Xinjia's. However, his attention was on Ji Kong and Ji Su just now, and he wanted to hit them with one strike. Who would have thought that Yin Chujio, who was trash in his eyes, would suddenly make a move? Of course, this was mainly because of the curse of Xiao Hanyo. Otherwise, He Xinjia would not have had a chance to succeed. Everyone in the dining hall was dumbfounded for a moment. Even Ji Ping's subordinates could not react in time. By the time everyone reacted, Ji Ping had already been beaten until his skin and flesh were torn open. Due to the intense pain, Ji Ping had already woken up. However, his spiritual energy was restrained by Yin Chujio, and he could not resist. He cursed angrily. Yin Chujio, how dare you hit me? Even if you are from the Lan family, you can forget about leaving the Zen sect alive. Yin Chujio hit him with the rolling pin again. So what if I hit you? I am hitting you. If you have the ability, you can stand up and fight with me. A person with such a bad moral character like you should not be alive. If I hit you, I will eliminate the harm for the people. Ji Ping yelled at his subordinates angrily. Aren't you going to get rid of her? Yin Chujio snorted coldly. If anyone comes over, I will smash his head with the rolling pin. Hearing that, everyone immediately did not dare to move. Ji Kong saw that the matter was getting bigger and bigger, and his head was buzzing. He had no choice but to secretly send a message to Master Lei. After a while, Yin Chujio caught a glimpse of Master Lei and the old ancestor of the Lan family coming over. She raised her voice and cursed. You keep saying that I have violated the rules of the Zen sect. Bah! Aren't you just using this as a pretext to attack the two little brothers? With that petty mind of yours, are you still fooling around in front of me? Just now, it seemed like you wanted to harm me, but in fact, you wanted to use this opportunity to kill the two little brothers. You're too vicious. If the two little brothers were to meet with misfortune, our Lan family would be covered with mouths, and we wouldn't be able to explain it clearly. You sure know how to use this borrowed knife to kill people. Let me tell you, I'll eat anything, but I won't be at a disadvantage. Today, I must beat you to death. Hearing Yun Chujia's words, Master Leia's footsteps paused slightly. The eyes of the Lan family's patriarch also flashed, and then he shouted sternly, "Evil creature! Stop!" Yun Chujia was stunned at first, and then her face was full of tears. She threw herself in front of the Lan family's patriarch and said, "Patriarch Sob Sob, I am going to be bullied to death. Let's go back to the Lan family. This Zen sect is too scary." Everyone, can you be a little more sincere when you're lying? Who knocked over the table? Who beat Jiping to a pulp? The corners of the Lan family's patriarch's eyes twitched, and he said with a straight face, "What on earth is going on? Why are you in the dining hall?" Hei Xinjiu just wiped her tears and hummed without saying a word. She glanced at Ji Kong and Ji Su. Ji Kong and Ji Su had been in a daze just now. They were a little scared after hearing Yun Chujia's words. Ji Ping's cultivation level was much higher than theirs. If he had not stumbled just now, they would have been either dead or injured. Although they knew that Ji Ping was dissatisfied with them, they never thought that he would want their lives. When the two of them saw Yun Chujia looking at them, they immediately knelt in front of a Master Lei. "Master Lei, this is all our fault. We mistakenly thought that almsgiver Yun smashed the sect to eat meat and brought her to the discipline hall." After hearing what had happened, Master Lei looked at Ji Ping, who had already been released from his spiritual power. "Ji Ping, is Ji Kong telling the truth?" Chapter 48:16. The reason for being a demon. Many people in the dining hall had seen what had happened. Ji Ping could not deny it and nodded. "Uncle Master, Ji Kong's words are basically true. I let Yun Chujio out to protect the sect rules." Who would have thought that not only did she not listen, but she also kicked over the table and severely injured me? Yun Chujio curled her lips and snorted. Which sect rule of the Zen sect forbids guests from eating in the dining hall? Or do you not care about the Lan family at all? Besides, why don't you tell us about your unspeakable evil intentions? Pooh, shameless. The master of the Lan family coughed and said, "Evil creature, shut up." Yun Chujio pursed her lips and didn't say anything. Anyway, she had said what she needed to say. She didn't give that old fox for free, so she would naturally help her. This guy wasn't making trouble for no reason, including her intention to sow discord. If she had not sowed discord, Ji Kong and Ji Su would not have held a grudge and sent her to the discipline hall without any questions. She wanted to take this opportunity to stroll around the Zen sect. If she stayed in the tranquil spring, how would she be able to get any information? The reason she chose to come to the discipline hall was also because there were too many people here with too many mouths. She wanted to gather some useful information. Ji Ping's appearance was an accident. However, this fellow quickly analyzed Ji Ping's thoughts based on the information he had obtained previously. That was why he played along with Ji Ping's scheme. With this ruckus, Master Lei would more or less accept her favor. Otherwise, those two foolish disciples of his would sooner or later be played to death. As for Master Liao's side, she was not afraid. No matter how weak the Lan family was, they were still a force. She did not believe that Master Liao would really fall out with the Lan family. Moreover, she did not think that Master Liao valued Ji Ping that much. If he did, he would not have allowed Ji Ping to be so arrogant. He probably had other motives. Moreover, the competition for the successor of the Zen sect was intense. They were all eager to see what would happen to Ji Ping. Naturally, someone would speak up for her. Even if she took 10,000 steps back, the previous ones did not work. She still had an ancient Buddhist scripture in her hands. She could use it to save her own life at critical moments. Therefore, this fellow was fearless when acting like a demon. As for the purpose of doing so, firstly, it was to hook up with Master Lei, and secondly, it was to stir up the Zen sect, so that it would be easier to fish in troubled waters. Master Lei nodded and said, "Ji Ping, although your intentions are good, almsgiver Yin is after all a guest of our Zen sect. Your attitude is a little inappropriate." Master Lei's expression was normal, but Ji Ping was unable to breathe for no reason. He knew that Master Lei was releasing pressure on him. Ji Ping was secretly resentful. Why did he fall down just now? Otherwise, he would have already succeeded. Even if this old thing was dissatisfied, he couldn't do anything to him. He weighed the pros and cons. If he were to go to the discipline hall, he might not be able to get any benefits. It would be better to let the Lan family bleed a little. Thinking of this, he said, "Senior uncle, I don't want to make a big deal out of this, but I was beaten up by Yin Chujio. What do you think?" Master Lei naturally understood Ji Ping's meaning, so he looked at the Lan family's ancestor. "Master Lan, what do you think?" The Lan family's ancestor glared at Yin Chujio. The matter had blown up so much that he would have to compensate Ji Ping with some pills and spirit stones. Chapter 48:17 Has Master gone mad? The old ancestor of the Lan family was about to speak when he heard Yun Chujio exclaim, "Old ancestor, my head hurts, my stomach hurts, my liver hurts, and the soles of my feet hurt. I must have suffered internal injuries from Ji Ping's anger. Old ancestor, I'm most likely going to die. I can't be filial in front of you anymore. Woo woo. Everyone. Oh my God, how could there be such a shameless person in this world? And he's going to die. When you were beating people up just now, you were full of vigor and vitality. You're going to die in such a short period of time?" The corner of the Lan family's ancestor's mouth twitched, but he still cooperated and said, "Little Jiao, are you all right? Sai, your body is not in good condition to begin with, and you can't stand it. I originally wanted to bring you to the Zen sect to see the world, but I didn't expect to harm you." Hei Xinjiu was secretly happy. This old fox was even more shameless than her. Master Lei's face stiffened slightly. The Lan family really had a family background. No wonder that little girl was so random. It turned out that she learned all this from the master of the Lan family. Ji Ping was so angry that he almost died. He was clearly the victim. But now, it seemed that the smelly girl was the victim. He was really angry to death. "Master Lan, since Benefactor Yin and Ji Ping are both injured, why don't we forget about this matter? After all, it was just a misunderstanding," Master Lei said with a smile. "All right, although little Nine is quite angry, she is also in the wrong after all. Let's forget about this matter," the Lan family's old ancestor said with a sigh. "Ji Ping, what do you think?" Master Lei looked at Ji Ping again. Ji Ping was so angry that he was twitching. However, he could tell that no matter how persistent he was, he would not get any benefits. Anyway, there was still plenty of time in the future, and he would have the chance to deal with them again. Therefore he nodded. "Then well, do as Martial Uncle says." The matter was settled. After Master Lei said a few more polite words to the Lan family's patriarch, he arranged for the 3 people to be sent back to the Spring of Tranquility. After Master Lei returned to the meditation room, Ji Kong and Ji Su hurriedly knelt down and admitted their mistakes. "Master, we were wrong." Master Lei sighed. He had taught them the method of cultivation, but he had not taught them how to be vicious. This was his negligence. This was also the reason why Master Lei had arranged for them to receive guests. He wanted them to understand more about the ways of the world. Originally, Master Lei did not care too much about this. After all, he did not plan to let his 2 disciples fight for the successor of the sect leader. He just did not expect Ji Ping to have the intention to kill them. Master Lei then thought of the evil Yin Chujio. It would be great if his 2 disciples had the little girl's tender heart. However, she probably did all this to sell him a favor. Could it be that she wanted him to reveal some information about her parents? If that was the case, she had made a big mistake. This matter was of great importance, and he would not reveal anything no matter what. Ji Kong and Ji Su could not help but blame themselves even more when they saw Master Lei sighing, and sighing without saying anything. "Master Lei, We have realized our mistake. We will definitely be careful with our words and actions in the future. Forget it. Get up. Indeed, you should be careful with your words and actions. However, you should also learn from that little girl. Don't be too stubborn. Master Li saw that Ji Kong and Ji Su were still at a loss. He could not say it too directly, so he could only continue saying, "You two go to the quiet spring. If you have nothing to do, chat with that little girl more." Ji Kong and Ji Su looked at each other. Talk to that female devil more? Has Master gone mad? Chapter 48:18 Buddha Lotus. Although Ji Kong and Ji Su didn't quite understand Master Lai's intention, they still obediently went to the Spring of Tranquility. When they arrived, they saw the female devil sighing. "Little brothers, I was punished by the old ancestor. He said that when I go back, he will lock me up in the forbidden area. Don't you blame yourself? If you didn't capture me to the discipline hall and didn't do it to avenge you, I wouldn't have been punished," Yin Chujio said with a sad face. Ji Kong and Ji Su immediately looked guilty when they heard that. If the female devil hadn't taken the opportunity to subdue Ji Ping, they wouldn't be standing here now. "Almsgiver Yin, it's our fault." "I'm sorry," Ji Kong said guiltily. Yin Chujio waved her hand. Forget it, forget it. If I hadn't insisted on going to the discipline hall, nothing would have happened. If you want to blame someone, blame that Ji Ping. He's really something. By the way, I've never seen Buddhist cultivators fight before. Is the black lotus that Ji Ping condensed very powerful? Ji Kong quickly explained. According to the level of Buddhist power, the color of the lotus condensed is also different. The lowest level is the white lotus, followed by the yellow lotus, the black lotus, the blue lotus, the red lotus, and the golden lotus. Each color is divided into 9 levels. Junior brother Ji Su and I are only at the 7th level of the Black Buddha Lotus, and Ji Ping is already at the 9th level of the Black Buddha Lotus. Naturally, he is much more powerful than us. Yin Chujio nodded. What level of spiritual power is the Black Buddha Lotus equivalent to? It's probably not much different from the extreme spiritual power, Ji Kong said. Yin Chujio calculated in her heart. In this way, the Zen sect was indeed much more powerful than the Lan family. Ji Kong and the others were a level higher than Lan Luocheng, and the others in their generation, not to mention many elders. Hei Xinjiu thought of the illusory old monk she met in the fallen god abyss. Back then, the old monk had set up some Buddha-like golden lotus array, and condensed a golden lotus. In this case, wasn't that Buddha-like golden lotus array very awesome? Yin Chujio closed her eyes, and recalled the location of the Buddha lotus. She felt that she had discovered something amazing. If the Buddha lotus were replaced with Buddhist cultivators, it would definitely be a wonderful array formation. However, it was useless to know. She and these Zen sect people were enemies. Naturally, she would not be stupid enough to tell them. Yin Chujio did not say anything for a long time. Ji Kong and Ji Su were puzzled, but they did not know what to say. They could only stand aside foolishly. Yin Chujio came back to her senses and said with a smile, "Although your cultivation level is lower than Ji Ping's, you are younger than him." Sooner or later, you will surpass him. Ji Kong and Ji Su could not help but feel touched when they heard that. This female devil was not too bad. However, Yin Chujio continued. However, since you are so stupid, I don't think you will live to see that day. Ji Kong. Ji Su. It was better to be fed to the dogs. Why? Are you not convinced? I'm not trying to hurt you. If you hadn't met me, you would have been played to death by Ji Ping in no time. Yin Chujio curled her lips and said. Ji Su said unconvinced. What you said is a little too serious. Even if Ji Ping is dissatisfied with us, he didn't do anything before this. As long as we are careful with our words and actions, he won't be able to catch us and do anything to us. Chapter 48:19. The little bell on the wrist. Yun Chujio looked at Jisoo, as if she was looking at an idiot. I can't do anything to you? I'm afraid Ji Ping has already done a lot of things in secret. Otherwise, with the status of a master lay, why didn't anyone stand up for you in the dining hall today? Why didn't anyone send a message to a master lay for you? Ji Kong and Jesus' expressions changed when they heard this. They had not thought of this before. But after hearing what Yun Chujio said, it was true. At that time, there was not even a single person who stood up for them. They thought about it again. It seemed that they did not know since when the disciples who were on good terms with them no longer interacted with them. It was just that they were focused on cultivating Buddhism and did not pay attention to these things. Yun Chujio continued. Before you knew it, Ji Ping had already isolated you. Only the two of you idiots were kept in the dark, right? Furthermore, it's true that you are cautious in your words and actions. However, if the other party is picky, it's useless no matter how cautious you are. That's because your existence is a threat to some people. Even if you do nothing, you are still a thorn in their side. Ji Kong and Jisoo were obviously shocked by Yun Chujio's words. They stood there in a daze for a long time without saying anything. Yun Chujio did not say anything else. Instead, she was thinking about her next step. She had secretly contracted some spirit bees and spirit butterflies to help her gather information. However, firstly, their levels were too low. Secondly, her parents' affairs were relatively confidential, so she was unable to gather any useful information. It seemed that she could only return empty-handed this time. After all, she had already committed a demon once, so she could not continue. Yun Chujio looked at the stunned Ji Kong and Jisoo and curled the corners of her lips. Fortunately, she had some gains. In a few days, she would be able to close the net. After a long while, Ji Kong and Jisoo finally came to their senses. They seemed very confused. Ji Kong said, Almsgiver Yun, what you said just now is indeed reasonable, but Buddha said. Yun Chujio interrupted him impatiently. Don't talk to me about the Buddhist scriptures. Nothing is absolute, just like Buddha didn't let you kill people, right? But your Zen sect has killed fewer people? So don't be so stubborn. Be more flexible, understand? If you don't want to die, if you don't want your master to be implicated by you, I will teach you a few moves. If you think I'm talking nonsense, just pretend that I didn't say anything. Ji Kong and Jisoo were even more confused. Yun Chujio ignored them and sat at the side to cultivate. The next morning, Ji Kong said to Yun Chujio, Benefactor Yun, junior brother Jisoo and I have thought it through. Please teach us the flexible way. Ji Kong and Jisoo nodded repeatedly. They had thought about it for the entire night, and finally understood. Although Buddha said that they would not fight over it, they could not just sit back and wait for death when there were people fighting over it. When they thought about how their master said that they should chat with the demoness more, their master's original intention was probably to let them learn the path of flexibility from the demoness. Yun Chujio raised her eyebrows. Teaching is fine, but you can't teach for free. You have to pay some tuition fees. Ji Kong and Jesus' heart sank. This demoness wouldn't be so greedy, right? Yun Chujio covered her mouth and giggled. Look at how scared you are. I'm just teasing you. Ji Kong and Jisoo were speechless. But Ji Kong was a little stunned when he saw the red rope on Yun Chujio's wrist. Why did the little bell on almsgiver Yun's wrist look familiar? Chapter 48:20. The female devil from 10,000 years ago. Seeing Ji Kong staring at her wrist, Yun Chujio's heart skipped a beat. After leaving the demon territory, the demon sky bell and the wooden fish had not made any movements, so she had forgotten about these two things. It was not that Yun Chujio did not think of breaking the red rope with a big kitchen knife, but she was afraid of breaking the demon sky bell and the wooden fish, so she did not make a move. Judging from Ji Kong's expression, could it be related to the Zen sect? Thinking about it, it made sense. Both of them were related to Buddha, so it might be related to the Zen sect. Fortunately, they had become smaller, so it would not be too troublesome if someone saw them. Yin Chujio deliberately waved her right wrist in front of Ji Kong, and then asked shyly, "Little brother Ji Kong, why are you staring at my wrist? Do you have a crush on me?" Ji Kong was so scared that he sat down on the ground and said in horror, "Patron Yin, be careful. This penniless monk has already become a monk." Ji Kong was very scared. Putting aside the question of whether he should break the rules or not, even if he really had a mortal heart, he would not dare to take a fancy to such a female devil. Yin Chujio curled her lips. "Since you don't have a crush on me, why are you staring at my wrist?" "It's because the little bell on your wrist is very similar to the precious treasure lost by our Zen sect." So this penniless monk took a few more glances at it, Ji Kong said. "The lost precious treasure? What precious treasure?" Yin Chujio asked curiously. Ji Kong said with a wry smile, "It's called the Bitter Zen sect. It's said that 10,000 years ago, our Zen sect met a female devil. Our Zen sect was originally called the Bitter Zen sect. That female devil said that we were stupid. How could she give herself such a name? Therefore, she forcefully erased the word bitter from the plaque and spread the news that our Bitter Zen sect had changed its name to Zen. Since things had come to this, our Bitter Zen sect had no choice but to change to Zen. This was nothing. The most outrageous thing was that the female devil also stole 2 treasures from our Zen sect. One was the daybreak bell, and the other was the sunset wooden fish. Therefore, our Zen sect originally had 5 treasures, but now we only have 3. The detestable thing was that the demoness was still saying that there should only be 3 treasures in Buddhism. If there were 5 treasures, wouldn't that break the rules? She is helping us, so that our Zen sect won't be too grateful to her. Yin Chujio's eyes widened. My goodness, this demoness style really suited her taste. She asked curiously, what happened after that? However, after that, something unexpected happened to that female devil, and her strength was greatly reduced. Our Zen sect tried to capture her everywhere, but she used evil schemes to escape time and time again. Later on, she regained her strength and became the ghost ancestor. There was nothing we could do to her. However, I heard that the ghost ancestor died not long after that. I guess she suffered retribution. You are the one who suffered retribution. Your Zen sect has suffered retribution. Hei Shinjo blurted out. The fellow also finished his sentence and regretted it. He quickly added, I mean, there is always a cause and effect. There must be a reason why your Zen sect was treated like this by that female devil. Ji Kong and Ji Su were dazed for a moment. A moment later, they put their palms together and said, Almsgiver Yin, you are indeed smart. What you said makes sense. We were wrong. Hei Shinjo humbly said a few words before she breathed a sigh of relief. She had almost said something bald. Chapter 48:21 would probably beat her to death, right? Under the cover of her sleeves, Hei Shinjo touched the demon sky bell and the wooden fish on her left and right wrists. It turned out that she was the one who robbed them. The guy suddenly felt a headache. If these monks knew that she was the reincarnation of the ghost ancestor, they would probably beat her to death, right? The guy rolled his eyes and said, Since the 2 treasures were taken by the ghost ancestor, they should be in the ghost domain. I'm afraid that your Zen sect will not be able to find them. Ji Kong sighed and said, Yes, our Zen sect has portraits of the breaking dawn bell and the wooden fish in the evening of Shi in all the scriptures halls, hoping to find the treasures. However, it has been 10,000 years, and there has been no news at all. Yin Chujio was secretly happy. Of course, they would not be able to find them. That thing was in the demon realm. To be precise, it was in the black bead. Even if you were exhausted to death, you would not be able to find it. Ji Kong was secretly happy in his heart, but he said, you can't force things. Maybe these two treasures are not related to the Zen sect, which is why they were taken away by that female devil. Ji Kong and Ji Su did not know what to say. They just shook their heads and smiled bitterly, not saying a word. Yin Chuzhou blinked her eyes and asked curiously, tell me more about that female devil. I am so smart. Maybe I can help you find some clues. Ji Kong shook his head. How could we know so much about what happened 10,000 years ago? I only heard about it from the elders in the clan. However, it is said that the female devil acted recklessly because of her high spiritual power. The worst thing is that it is said that she flirts with beautiful men. Cough. 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 Hei Shinjio, who was drinking water, almost choked to death. Although she liked to look at handsome men, she wouldn't go around flirting with them, right? Slander. Blatant slander. It's okay, go on. I was just shocked by this female devil's shamelessness, Hei Shinjio said while coughing. That's all I know. Although that female devil acted recklessly, she still lost her life in the end. Therefore, the only way is to convert to Buddhism. Almsgiver Yin, I see that you have a lot of wisdom, why not? Stop. Stop. I still want to marry and give birth to a little monkey. I'm not going to become a monk. Yin Chuzhou said angrily. This fellow suddenly remembered that every time she was struck by lightning, she would become bald. Could it be that she had offended a monk in her previous life? So she was punished. However, she remembered a crucial question and asked, little brother Ji Kong, am puzzled. Logically speaking, your Zen sect is so powerful. Why can't you do anything to that female devil? Is she that powerful? I don't know. It seems that the female devil appeared out of thin air. She should not be from the Chongshao continent. Almsgiver Yin, let's not talk about that female devil. Please teach me and my junior brother the way of flexibility. Ji Kong said anxiously. Ji Kong and Ji Su immediately said with serious expressions. Monks should not talk nonsense. Lying is a cardinal rule. No, absolutely not. Yin Chuzhou rolled her eyes and said, since you say so, I have nothing to say. I don't care about your affairs anymore. See you later. After saying that, Hei Shinjio skipped away. Ji Kong and Ji Su were at a loss. What should they do? Chapter 48:22. She was the demon ancestor. Hei Shinjio hopped back to the quiet spring. Seeing that the patriarch of the Lan family and Elder Tua were concentrating on their cultivation, he returned to his cabin. Buttface, ask Qiang if he knows about the grudge between the Zen sect and the ghost ancestor. Yin Chuzhou said with her sole consciousness. After hearing Buttface's words, Qiang frowned. I also heard that the Zen sect hates the ghost ancestor to the bone, but I don't know the exact reason. Yin Chuzhou thought for a while. This was normal. The Zen sect had lost face, so naturally, they would not go out and make a fuss. She then asked, then tell me about what happened before the ghost ancestor became the ghost ancestor. Qiang said unhappily, how would I know? I'm not an old monster from 10,000 years ago. Anyway, according to your character, you must have been a troublemaker in your previous life. Otherwise, why would the Zen sect hunt you down for no reason? Yin Chuzhou took his words as a compliment and asked again. Do you know where the ghost ancestor came from? Why does she have such a powerful cultivation? I don't know. Let's not talk about this first. When are you going to change my body into a human body? Qiang said impatiently. Yin Chuzhou snorted coldly. I see that your position in the Divine Devil Hall is not that good. Otherwise, how could you not know anything? You are simply a piece of trash. Qiang was so angry that his rabbit eyes turned even redder. Not much. In Purple Mask. If it weren't for you, I might have become a protector by now. It's all your fault for ruining my good deed. Qiang said exasperatedly. Yin Chujio rolled her eyes. TSK, so after all this time, you're just a purple mask. I thought you were so powerful. It seems that you have no value left to be used. When we return to the Land family, it'll turn you into ashes. Although Yin Chujio said that, her heart sank. According to what she knew, the Divine Devil Hall had black-masked men, silver-masked men, Jin-Mian men, and then purple-masked men. According to Qi Ying, there were protectors above them? The purple-masked man was already very difficult to deal with. So wouldn't the protector's strength be even more shocking? When she thought of the big hand that once tore through the void, the strength of the Divine Devil Hall Master was probably even more terrifying. Qi Ying did not know that Yin Chujio was scaring him. He hurriedly said, Yin Chujio, I was joking with you just now. Actually, I know some things about the ghost ancestor. Oh, you are not lying to me, right? What I said is true. It is said that the ghost ancestor had an affair with the Sheng Zun. Ah, that relationship was born in the Chongshao continent. If you wander around the Chongshao continent more, you might be able to recall the memories of your previous life. Qi Ying's eyes flashed with a trace of calculation. If this wretched girl had been hiding in the Lan family, the Divine Devil Hall would not be able to deal with her. As long as she went out and wandered around, she might be caught by the Divine Devil Hall. Moreover, it was not bad that she had really awakened her memories. Once she found out about the entanglement between her past life and Di Biming, they might turn against each other. She was really looking forward to it. Yin Chujio was so smart. She immediately understood Qi Ying's meaning, but she did not point it out. Alright, since you still have some value, I'll keep you for now. You'd better be more honest or else HMPH. Qi Ying agreed with a sullen tone. He was secretly hating in his heart. Sooner or later, he would find an opportunity to escape from the control of this wretched girl. With her alone, she still wanted to fight with their master? Dream on. Yin Chujio lowered her head and looked at the demon sky bell and the little wooden fish on her wrist. Since these two things originally belonged to her, then she should be the demon ancestor. She was both the demon ancestor and the demon ancestor. She was really powerful in her previous life, but how did she die? Chapter 48-23. Hei Shinjo thought for a while, but could not think of anything. She decided not to think about it. After a while, Ji Kong and Ji Su came to look for her. They expressed their willingness to learn with stiff faces. They were lying through their teeth. You are a promising child. It seems that you can still be saved. Come, your task today is to go out and lie to one person. No matter what, as long as it is a lie, it will be fine. Yin Chujio said with a smile. Ji Kong and Ji Su looked troubled. Go out and lie to others? Amitabha, Buddha won't blame them, right? Yin Chujio said with a chuckle. Wine and meat go through the intestines. Buddha will keep it in his heart. Why do you have to stick to appearances? This is like killing evil people as doing good deeds. Don't be so stubborn. Ji Kong and Ji Su were stunned. What this female devil said seemed to make sense. However, the two of them were still in a dilemma. Lie. How? They had never done such a difficult thing before. Yin Chujio seemed to have seen through their thoughts. She smiled and said, when you lie, you must first lie to yourself. Only when you believe in yourself can you lie to others. Ji Kong and Ji Su were still confused, but they could only bite the bullet and go out to lie to others. For the next few days, Ji Kong and Ji Su went out to lie to others according to Yin Chujio's instructions. In the beginning, they would blush before they even said anything, not to mention lying to others. After a few times, they became much more natural. Although they could not compare to Hei Shinjo, they were still much better than before. Since they had already broken their commandments, Yin Chujio asked them to do some trivial things, so the two of them were not so conflicted anymore. Therefore, Ji Kong and Ji Su ran further and further away on the road of darkening. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 days had passed, and Hei Shinjio felt that it was time to reel in the net. Brothers, your mission today is to have a Master Li summon me alone, Yun Chujio said with a smile. Ji Kong and Ji Su felt that this mission was too simple. As long as they said that this female devil requested to see them, they believed that their master would see her. However, when they told a master that Yun Chujio requested to see her, Master Li shook his head. Tell her that I don't have time to see her. Ji Su asked in confusion. Master, why don't you want to see her? I know what to do. You don't have to ask anymore. Leave. Master Li obviously didn't want to say anything else. Ji Kong and Ji Su were dumbfounded when they left. If the two of them had encountered such a problem before, they would have been helpless. However, their minds were much more flexible now, and they quickly came up with a solution. The two of them entered a Master Laius meditation room again. Master, almsgiver Yun said that she has news about the breaking dawn bell. We didn't think she was lying, so we came to report it. Master Li stood up from the futon. What? Breaking dawn bell? Is what you said true? Ji Kong and Ji Su felt guilty, but they looked confident. Yes, Master. We didn't say it just now, because we were afraid that she was lying and you would blame us, so we didn't mention it. Master Li believed it. He didn't know that his two disciples had been led astray. All right, call Yun Chujio over immediately. If the master of the Lan family asks, just say that I want to ask about something. There's no need to say anything else. Yes, Master. When Ji Kong and Ji Su came out, their legs suddenly went weak, and they almost fell to the ground. They had actually deceived their master. Chapter 4824. Heavy sins. Upon hearing Ji Kong and Ji Su's words, Hei Shinjio had a complicated look on her face. What these two fellows said was not a lie. Not only did she know the whereabouts of the daybreak bell, but it was also on her. This fellow rolled his eyes. She could pin this matter on the Divine Devil Hall, and then dog eat dog. Haha, she was really too smart. Hence, this fellow happily went to a Master Laius meditation room. When Master Li saw Yun Chujio, he could not wait to ask. Benefactor Yin, the two of them said that you know the whereabouts of the breaking dawn bell. Is that true? Yun Chujio nodded. That's right, I do have some clues. Ji Kong and Ji Su, who were at the side, saw Yun Chujio lying without a blush or panting. They were completely impressed. They reckoned that even if they studied for their entire lives, they would not be able to compare to this female devil. Master Li asked anxiously. Oh, Benefactor Yin, quickly tell me about it. Yun Chujio smiled and said, this is an important matter. Can you let Ji Kong and Ji Su go out for a while? Master Li did not bother to correct her, and immediately chased Ji Kong and Ji Su out. Yun Chujio saw Ji Kong and Ji Su go out and said with a smile, Master Li, let's not beat around the bush. I can tell you the clues to the breaking dawn bell, but you have to exchange something for it. Master Li was stunned at first, then he understood what Yun Chujio meant. He calmed himself down and said, do you want to know about your parents? Benefactor Yin, I advise you to put this idea out of your mind. Otherwise you will get into trouble. Master Li, those are my biological parents. Even if I get into trouble, I can't just ignore it. I don't have any excessive requests. Even if you let me see them, it's fine. Yun Chujio said with a sorrowful look. Master Li held the Buddhist beads inside. I can understand your feelings, but the two of them have committed grave sins. I can't do anything about it. Yun Chujio cursed in her heart. You are the one who has committed grave sins. Your entire family has committed grave sins. She sighed. Master, since you've said so, I won't force you. Oh, go back now. After saying that, Yun Chujio turned around and was about to leave. Master Li was not willing to let her leave. He gritted his teeth and said, "Wait. Although I can't let you meet, I can tell you some news." Yin Chujia's eyes lit up when she heard that. "What news?" Master Leia's eyes flashed. "Tell me the location of the breaking dawn bell first. I naturally won't misspeak." Yin Chujia was not afraid that the old monk would lie to her. So she said, "I also found out by accident that the people of the Divine Devil Hall found the breaking dawn bell in the ghost realm." Yin Chujio did not say anything either. Sometimes the more she explained, the more guilty she felt. Master Lei did not seem to be lying when he saw Yin Chujia's magnanimous look. Then, he thought that the ghost ancestor must have taken the breaking dawn bell, and she won wooden fish to the ghost realm. The people of the Divine Devil Hall found the breaking dawn bell in the ghost realm. It was not impossible. After a while, Yin Chujio said, "Master Lei, I have told you the whereabouts of the broken dawn bell. Can you tell me the news about my parents?" Master Lei sighed. "Almsgiver Yin, you can rest assured about one thing. Although they cannot leave the Zen sect, their lives are not in danger. You don't need to ask about the rest." Chapter 48 25 Jade Glass Bodhi Seed. Hei Shinjia was so angry that she almost died. It was as if he didn't say anything. This old monk was too hateful. "Master Lei, can you tell me what exactly they did wrong?" "Amitabha, their sins are so great that they can't atone for them even after spending their whole lives," Master Lei replied. Yin Chujio finally realized that this old monk was really cunning. He only said a few sentences back and forth. "Is there really no way to make up for it? What if I can help you take back the breaking dawn bell, and she won wooden fish?" Master Leia's eyes lit up, but he immediately shook his head. "Even so, we can't release the two of them. Almsgiver Yin, please give up on this idea." Yin Chujio secretly hated these damn monks. "Just you wait. I will destroy the Zen sect sooner or later. Let's see if you will let it go." This guy knew that he wouldn't be able to get anything out of them even if he asked again. Just as he was about to leave, he heard a powerful bell chime. This guy was so scared that he almost sat on the ground. She thought it was the sound of the demon heaven bell on her wrist. After listening carefully, she found that the bell chime came from outside. It was a false alarm. She was scared to death. Master Lei quickly stood up and walked out in a hurry. "Benefactor Yin, something big has happened in the sect. You should return to the Spring of Tranquility first." After Master Lei said that, he ordered Ji Kong and Ji Su to send Yin Chujio back to the Spring of Tranquility. Then, they quickly gathered in the square and disappeared in a few flashes. Yin Chujio blinked her eyes. "Brothers, let's go. I'll go with you to have a look." Ji Kong and Ji Su wanted to refuse, but after understanding each other for the past few days, they felt that even if they refused, this female devil had 100 ways to make them agree, so they didn't bother. Therefore, the two of them brought Hei Shinjio to the square outside the Great Hall of Heroes. It was the first time that Yin Chujio saw such a magnificent Great Hall of Heroes. The Buddha statues inside were solemn, and even Yin Chujio, who was fearless, had some respect in her heart. Many Zen sect disciples gathered in the square. Several elders and Master Liaowu stood in the grand hall. Hei Shinjio was puzzled. What on earth had happened? Could it be that her parents had been rescued? Yin Chujio stood on her tiptoes and looked into the great hall. When she saw Master Liaowu and the other elders, her face was full of joy. She pursed her lips. It seemed that something good had happened instead of something bad. What on earth was good? Just when this guy was curious, he saw Master Liaowu couldn't hide his joy and said loudly, "Amitabha Buddha, please bless us. The Bodhi seed of the jade glass Bodhi has begun to shed its shell. It is expected to mature this evening." As soon as Master Liaowu finished speaking, everyone immediately exploded. "Oh my God! I never thought that I would be able to see a mature jade glass Bodhi seed in my lifetime. Ba. It is really Buddha's blessing. It would be great if I was lucky enough to obtain a jade glass Bodhi seed. That's right. Legend has it that the jade glass Bodhi seed chooses its owner automatically. If one were to forcefully pluck it, one would be injured by the Buddha's power contained within. Yin Chujio was confused. Jade glass Bodhi seed? Why did it look like it was very valuable? She looked at Ji Kong, who was equally excited, and asked in a low voice, "What is jade glass Bodhi seed? Is it very valuable?" Chapter 48:26 was interesting. Ji Kong said excitedly. Almsgiver Yin, you may not know this, but the jade glass Bodhi tree is one of the most important treasures of our Zen sect. It blooms once every 1,000 years, and bears fruit once every 1,000 years. However, the timing of this Bodhi seed's ripening is uncertain. It has been bearing fruit for more than 2,000 years, and it is finally about to mature. Yin Chujio was still a little confused. The jade glass Bodhi seed is the fruit of the jade glass Bodhi tree? Yes and no. To be exact, the jade glass Bodhi seed is the core of the jade glass Bodhi fruit. The jade glass Bodhi seed will only mature when the outer shell of the jade glass Bodhi fruit fades automatically. Moreover, the jade glass Bodhi seed cannot be picked by itself. It has to take the initiative to recognize its master. It was the lifelong pursuit of all the Zen sect disciples to possess a string of jade glass Bodhi seed beads. However, very few of them could achieve their wishes. Firstly, in the entire Chongsha continent, there was only one jade glass Bodhi tree in the Zen sect. Secondly, it would only mature once every several thousand years. Most importantly, not all the mature jade glass Bodhi seeds would recognize their master. A large portion of them would fall into the soil and turn into nutrients for the jade glass Bodhi seeds. Therefore, this jade glass Bodhi seed is very rare, Ji Kong explained. Why can't you pick it yourself? Yin Chujio asked again. Because the Buddha power contained in the jade glass Bodhi seed is very pure. If you pick it yourself, not only will the jade glass Bodhi seed self-destruct, but the person who picks it will also be injured by the Buddha power. Yin Chujio nodded. This jade glass Bodhi seed had quite a temper. It was quite interesting. While Yin Chujio was thinking about it, she heard Master Liao say, "Everyone, wait under the jade glass Bodhi tree. Buddha will cross the fated ones. So whether you can get the jade glass Bodhi seed depends on your good fortune." Everyone immediately cheered and jumped in a direction. Ji Kong and Ji Su looked at Yin Chujio with a troubled expression. "Benefactor Yin, let us send you back to the spring of tranquility first." Yin Chujio blinked her eyes. "What if you send me the jade glass Bodhi seed when it matures? Wouldn't you miss out on a great opportunity? I might as well follow you and take a look. I'm not a monk, so I don't think that jade glass Bodhi seed will choose me." Ji Kong and Ji Su hesitated for a moment. To be honest, they were also worried that they would miss the opportunity if they went. They gritted their teeth and said, "All right, then you can come with us, but I know what you want to say. Don't worry. If a master Lei blames me, he'll just say that I went by myself. I promise I won't implicate you guys." Yin Chujio ran after her as she spoke. Ji Kong and Ji Su looked at each other and smiled bitterly. They had no choice but to follow her. The jade glass Bodhi tree was also at the back of the main peak of the Zen sect. However, it was in a different direction from the tranquil spring. By the time Heishinjo arrived, it was already crowded with people. In the middle of the crowd was an ancient tree. Its leaves were as green as the best jade, emitting a lustrous glow. The fruits that had shed their shells were pitch black and lustrous. At a glance, they had the effect of calming one's mind. Everyone's attention was on the jade glass Bodhi tree. Only a few people noticed that Yin Chujio had sneaked in. However, they did not have the time to bother about her now. So Heishinjo stood at the back calmly to watch the show. To be honest, this fellow was really not interested in this jade glass Bodhi seed. He just wanted to watch the show. After all, she was not cultivating Buddha energy. This thing was useless to her. It was even worse than melon seeds. At least it could be eaten. You're tuning in to the Lee May's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.